welcome along, Sharron. Thank you.
Hi,
How are you
Craig.
today? How's things?
Very well. Yeah, all good. Thank you. All good. Can't complain.
That's the way. Thank you so much for joining me on the Craig Griffin universe.
Oh, it's wonderful. Very
You
excited.
are officially and from now on shall be forever known as #003.
Excellent.
So you can
Good
get
number.
that tattooed on your arm or merchandise. You can get it on a shirt.
T-shirts, yeah.
So have you been? What's been happening?
Lots happening. Always lots happening. I've been good. Really good. Always lots happening in our
Firstly,
life.
tell me about the big T, Texas. Tell me all about Texas.
Oh, yeah, gosh, geez. So long ago, February. No, that was fantastic. That was a very, I decided pretty quickly. So I've been watching a guy called Chase Hughes, who is the #1 behavioural profiler in the world, apparently. And I think he's brilliant. He's awesome. Love watching him and his things. He has tons of stuff on YouTube, tons of stuff. So I love what he does, and an opportunity came up to go to Texas to do some learning. It wasn't Chase, it was his #1 guy, Merlin. I don't know how to say it properly. Chase made a couple of, he came in a few times and he talked for an hour, and I think, yeah, he's just excellent. So it's fantastic. It's a lot about what do you call it? When he trains a lot of Navy SEALs, and it's about, I lost the word. It's bad, isn't it? It's what old age does. Interrogations and trying to see if somebody's lying or, yeah.
Psychological stuff and what to say to get people to say something.
I can't hear you anymore, Craig.
Oh, hello.
It could be me. Wait a minute.
Hear me?
No, hang on. It's gone away. Hang on.
The joys of live stream. Hello.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I'm back. You're back, right?
You're back.
Yeah. So look, it helps with, one of the things is about influencing. So he said everybody's a salesperson, everybody's selling something. Mind you, I'm not doing this yet because I haven't practiced all the things, and I think a lot of stuff has come naturally to me over the years, but certainly not to the depth of what he does. But it was really, really fascinating. So we think, when we're looking for things, it's not just they did this. It's got to come in like a little cluster, and what their norm is. Because if you thought I was fidgety and nervous, but I move all the time, so that's my norm. So you're not going to go, I don't think she's telling me the truth because she's got her arms going everywhere and she's talking crazy, because I do that anyway. So it's finding the person's sort of baseline and norm. And then, so one of the things, his YouTube stuff's fantastic. Blinking is fantastic when people blink fast. And so he shows all sorts of clips of people who have been lying, and just the language. It's just really interesting. Like the classic, I did not have relations with that woman. So that woman.
Turns out he did.
Yeah, because he wasn't telling the truth. So that woman, he didn't say her name or her, he used that woman. So he separated out from that. Relations, he didn't say sex. So there's some real telltale. It's really interesting.
Wow.
So it's about what people are saying, but also what their body's doing. And
so you don't think of that. You don't think that's why he referred to her as that woman.
No,
or that's why he had sexual relations.
Yeah.
Even though it sounded weird at the time, I remember thinking that's a weird way to phrase it.
He said a lot of people, if they're being interviewed for, say, sexual assault, they will say, I never touched anybody. So they're also, saying touched instead of, they were accused of rape maybe. It's so interesting. There's obviously so much in it. But he's really, really good to listen to and to watch. Has a lovely presence, just a beautiful, calm.
Yeah.
Have you watched him you seen anything?
I've seen, once I knew that you were going, I checked a bit of it out
Yeah.
online. I haven't seen a lot of it, but yeah, it's interesting that you pointed out, like, I always remember, they say body language and
Exactly. And he said, crossing your arms is technically, he said it's so overrated, the whole body. Crossing your arms, I'm not interested or listening. A, they could be cold, B, this might be comfortable. But also, if it's just crossing their arms.
And I've always thought that. I've thought, what if certain people do certain things? You touched on that great point. What if people do certain things naturally anyway? Or like you say,
Absolutely.
if it's cold, or any number of things, or people could even intentionally be aware that they're going to think this if I do that, they're going to think,
so I won't cross my
so they can do a double negative as well. They'll go, I think I'm lying,
so I'm not going to cross. Or you cross them and you quickly uncross them. Have you ever done that? You cross your arms to someone automatically, and then you think, oh, exactly what you're saying. They're going to think I'm blocking them, so I better uncross them.
I was only watching a podcast yesterday, and it was interesting. It was probably about an hour long, and both people on the podcast, they showed them side by side like this, and both the people in the podcast were mirroring each other without even realizing.
Which is always said to be a good thing. You all stand like a friend. If you're leaning against the kitchen bench and they're doing this, you'll probably do the same. Our bodies never lie, they say. Our bodies can't lie. So have you ever done that? You've mirrored your friend or Michelle, and you just do.
You don't realize, and then you kind of become aware of it, and you're like, but it was interesting when you could see them side by side. It was a lot more
so
obvious.
Funny. Yeah.
Right.
No, you go.
No, I was just gonna say, like, even at the point where if like they crossed their left leg and then they crossed their right leg, and they were both kind of doing it without even being aware of it. But it was only that you were watching that, you could tell.
And you went, oh, look at that. But when you do start watching things, that's when it becomes absolutely fascinating if you observe people. He did a clip. He showed us a clip with Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. He was telling a story, and he's a very animated person. He was leaning forward in his chair, but he was leaning forward in the bits he really wanted. There's just so much in it. Like, he was really leaning forward when he really wanted you to buy into his story, which was a true story, but he was excited. Then he hesitated when he was about to say something, like he might have been talking about he smoked dope or something, and then you could see him thinking, maybe I shouldn't tell this story, and there was hesitation. And
wow,
really interesting.
And it must be interesting to people that, like yourself, that now have an awareness of that and can understand it and can decode it.
Yeah.
How much more because it's like they say, it's body language, so it's a communication. It's still part of our language, what we do and how we do it and how we move our hands or our bodies. So to be aware of it, it must be fascinating to be able to read so much more of what we're actually saying.
I think I need to really practice it a lot more. I think you forget, and then you think, oh, I should be looking at it. I think our body language, we all read it anyway. I did some stats, and I forget. It's something like it's like 85 and 90% of our communication is actually, that might be tone. Now I'm forgetting my own stats that I searched.
I have heard that, though, that non-verbal communication is such a large part of it, which is
verbal's about 15.
Okay, 15, right? Yeah,
almost nothing. It's incredible how and the idea is that if you understand someone too, like, he goes into a lot of things, then you can appeal to them, so you can you can foster better relationships if you're understanding where they're coming from.
And I think also, just like, if you're open to what something someone has to say to you, again, you can use your body language, just having that awareness. It's that, like, the open hands. I'm open to what you've got to say. And,
yes.
Off. It's like, okay, I'm open to what you're telling me. What were the clusters you mentioned?
Oh, meaning, so say, as I said, I might be doing this, I might be telling you a story, and you go, did you do this? And I'll go, and I'm talking like this all the time, but you go, but did you actually, take the jewelry? from that lady's house, you know, and I'll be going, so I might go, oh, God, no, I didn't. You go, oh, she wafted her hands around a lot there, but I'm already doing that.
Yeah.
That's a person who, but I might be going, oh, God, no. And like, oh, so I'm doing a few, and my blinking, and I'm really scratching, and I'm like, oh, gosh. So I'm doing a few things. My language is changed. I'm blinking a lot, so I'm very nervous, stressed. I'm doing what I wasn't doing before. So, but I'm not just doing one of them. I'm doing a few things. So somebody might just be talking to you just normally, and you know that they sit quite still, but then they sit in their chair and they might move their hair and adjust. I mean, I fiddle, so I'm a fidgeter, but they might do that. Their tone might change. So it's about having a few things. There's a beautiful chart, and I've got to get it enlarged because I can barely read it, but he rates them on points. So I haven't done my homework and really looked into this stuff near enough, but there's points, and it's something like 11 or 20. Very vague on this. I apologise. Not a very good student. That there's if somebody is being untrue, there's like numbers, and so something like that. I did not have relations with this woman. Got up to like 20 points or something, and 5 is already alarm bells are ringing. Something to that effect. Please don't quote me.
And then they start avoiding eye contact, and I can remember him in Clinton in that interview. He started to look around, and those kinds of things.
Yeah, which he wasn't doing, but he didn't just look around thinking about something. He also looked around while he was and the other thing is he talked a lot about where people's eyes go. That's obviously really important, but you've got to know where their eyes go when they are recalling something to begin with.
Yeah.
You can't say they looked. Also, if I'm trying to tell you something, but I'm looking, it's like the old, yes, I did it. So the body is in opposition to what you're saying.
Do you want to do that? I would love to.
Yeah, that's right. Did you ever do that? I never did that. So
you don't really want that pizza, do you? No, of course.
No, you haven't. I want it so badly.
No, I don't want it.
But the cluster, is intonement in the voice, as well as the eyes changing. If they're saying, "Did you do it?" and they're recalling, and recall maybe is here, and they're going, "I didn't," and they're looking completely in another random place. So that's the eyes, the intonement. There might be a shift in the chair, and uncomfortable. There might be, so it's a few things that all come in. It's not just one thing. It's not them going, "No, I didn't do it," folding their arms, because that's not enough.
I've seen when mentalists have been interviewed, they talk to mentalists. They're taking exactly that, but they're taking it to an extreme level.
Yeah.
So they're looking at like how much your pupils dilate.
That's in there as well. Oh, yeah.
Really slight things that the average person, even some interrogators and experts, wouldn't notice. But
so Chase knows them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt.
And Chase and his team are like all over that, and it's extraordinary. Even facial features that you have. I'm trying to think of some of them. So, of course, raising the eyebrows is. Oh, I'm interested, and give me more, because you're opening things up. And one of the things he says, he said, even brand new babies, I think they come in with like maybe 4 or 5 facial expressions that are still, important when people are telling you things. Like people go, like, that's closing up, and I don't want to say it. But one of the things he said, if you drop a baby, it'll go. And people still do that. If you say, "Would you like to swim with sharks?" and they go, "God, no." But babies do that. So if you drop them, they'll go. So it's like that. "Oh, no, I don't want this to happen."
Isn't that fascinating? And they're one of those, early facial expressions that we learn probably stick with us too, because they're way back. They're our very first emotions.
Yeah, and they have them and they stay with us. So there's 4 or 5 or something that babies have, and there's ones that we still have as adults. But not only facial expressions, there's things of course, people do expressions as in, like, remember that, but just do.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell me about that? They go, not really. So there's that, which means, of course, they don't want to speak it. They don't want to tell you. It's like, I'm just not going to say anything.
Unless they're like.
Yeah. But there's also parts of our face, like, is this the glabella? Is that what it's called here?
Yeah, I think so.
And that tells you that people have spent a lot of time going, I don't really get what's going on. I don't really know what's happening. So maybe you've had a life of or confusion. Oh, gee, I'm so bad at this. I'm embarrassed. But there's
there's so much in it. There's so many little details that make such a difference.
Yes. People who've been in a cult have a, like, mark, I can't think what it's called, like their face shows, like they might have the cult, or that they're really smooth under the eyes. There's all these different ones, and I'm not putting them together very well. So people are not getting very well educated from my from my information.
It's fascinating though.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Just to understand other people.
What's his name again?
Chase Hughes.
We'll drop some.
You've got again.
Links.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Sure. Possibly the internet, is it? That damn internet.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it you or me?
Normally I'd say it's me, but it's you. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah. Should we take these off?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, how's that?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I'm just going to put you through my other. It's really
battery 100%. Connected to Sharron's iPhone and BSQ.
Take this bit out.
I'm going to say, you sounded very robotic all of a sudden.
Beg your pardon?
Oh, yeah, now I'm getting a bit of a delay. I'm hearing.
Yeah. How's that?
Yeah, maybe
pop
the headphone.
Back on?
Yeah, because it's repeating me. Hi. Hello.
I have to connect them.
Cool.
It's very silly.
It's all part of the fun.
Oh, good.
It's all part of technology.
All right. Nobody needs to hear or see that. Hang on, fix that. Yeah, I just think it's absolutely, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. No, I think it's it helps you. It helps you to relate to people. It helps you to get a better understanding of, if you're interested in people and you're compassionate, you want to know what other people are maybe feeling or thinking or going through, so that you better sit with them, and it's better
what
for them.
applications is he? I mean, he's obviously teaching people how to use it and understand it. What was his background with it? Like, how did he?
He was a Navy SEAL for many, many years. 25 years or something. He was a Navy SEAL, and then he got a brain disease. He's on a panel. There's 4 of them, and they watch clips like, Prince Harry, not Prince, but Harry, not Prince Harry. Harry Smith. They watch people, and then there's 4 separate guys, like on a window, like the Brady Bunch, and they'll take turns.
Would he be the prince formerly known as Prince?
Different again, I think. Or was that maybe when that became available? He said, I love that one. But so the panel, they watch things, and then they'll go, look, he did this and he did that, and when he spoke about this, and they did Megan, when she did this, she's nervous and she's grabbing at him, or she's giving him the side eye, and so he was watching that after the show, and he noticed that he had zoned out to no man's land, and he knew, because he had studied neuroscience, he knew he had something going on, so he got diagnosed with this particular long name, neurological brain disease, and he was having seizures, but he was basically just zoning out.
Wow.
I hope I've got all these facts right. Anyway, he went along, and they said, well, yeah, every time you zone out for 5 minutes, you're losing 3 years of memories. And he said he thought that he would be the first person who would know if he had a brain disease with his work, but he said he didn't. So, cut a long story short, he healed that. He is a big fan of methylene blue.
Yes.
So he did a lot of healing. But the point is, when he was married with children, and he thought, well, I need to look after them. So he had all this knowledge by this stage. He'd done all his neuroscience. He'd done so many things. And so he wrote a book called I'm really bad. Oh, it's everything.
So if you've got it handy, if you've got it there, we'll give it a plug.
Oh, hang on. Hold on.
Yep.
Aha. Okay, here we go. Like I didn't have pajama pants on. The behavioural ops. Look how big it is. It's a whopper.
No.
So this book, he then went and put everything into here so that everything was then recorded and that his family, was looked after. And he has cured himself. But this stuff is extraordinary, just extraordinary.
That's fascinating. That's probably one of the biggest, let alone the biggest book. That's probably one of the biggest binders I've ever seen on a book too.
Yeah,
that's
and look at it. I mean, hello.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hello.
So it's just it's like behavior. I'm just trying to find rising vocal pitch. It's pretty fantastic. Oh, the formation of identity and beliefs. Geez, enhanced influence. Look, it's fantastic. Yeah,
and it's great that you've got that as a reference because, I mean, you can obviously read it and you can, sort of relearn it, but it'll also trigger a lot of what you learnt as well. I find that if you go away and you look back at notes or any reference material, it starts to trigger.
It does.
Because it was so. You did different exercises and all that kind of thing.
Exactly, and I'm a bit naughty that I should have been putting a lot more time in since then to really keep rereading. And I think the biggest thing with this and all the work I do is to learn about yourself first, is to learn, where am I in all of this and what do I do? And because to understand yourself, I think, before you understand others, you need to understand yourself. So I should be doing a lot more work on that, but I guess...
that's which I've mentioned previously on the show. That's Socrates, that know thyself thing. It's it's as old as time, but it's such an important concept to be aware of yourself and what you're good at, what you're not good at, what your passions are, what you like, what you don't like, what you love, what motivates
how you behave, what drives you.
Yeah.
There's statistics that I got off online and I put them on my website, and it's something like 100% of people, out of nearly everybody, thinks they've got self-awareness, and it's actually about 15% of the population has self-awareness. 85% of the population does not.
Wow.
So that is something extraordinary. I think that we all think we're self-aware.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you can't do much about the things that aren't working for you well, can you?
Yeah. And I guess there's two sides to that coin. One, it's having the awareness, but it's also having the courage to then look at that and go, oh, okay, yeah, I do that. To have the awareness and then to be willing to be brave enough to look at it and accept it and then either change it or not change it.
And I guess it's the typical, is it working for you? How's that working for you? And if it's not, and if you don't care, you don't have to do anything. But most people, if it's not working, they go, that's what's happening. So I don't want that.
Yeah.
But you can make changes. You can always make changes, but you've got to have that awareness first.
Yeah, that's right. And you would have seen that a lot, obviously, working with people and, both adults and children and looking at those behaviors, working out, is it nature or nurture? Is it something that is inherent in them?
Yeah.
learn, because they say that,
Yeah.
I don't know what the statistic is, but there's such a large majority that's learned behavior that we think, oh, that's just the way I am. Well, no, it's actually not. It's things that
Because you've gathered your beliefs from your parents firstly, of course, and then all along the way you've gathered beliefs, and so many people just sit with them and go, that's just what I believe, or, you know, but it's so healthy to go, can I change that? Is that actually correct now? Because you learned it, you know, years back. You learned, maybe you grew up in a house that, you know, I'm not going into politics, but Liberal and Labor, and your family was Labor, you know, those rich people are this and poor people are what matter. And so you grow up and go, oh, they're awful because, and then at some point you might, as I said, not getting into politics, but you might go, oh, I don't think all rich people are awful and poor people, you know, I don't have that thought. I don't think that's actually true. It's great to change your beliefs. It's great to challenge them. It's great to see if they're still relevant, because they're just stuff that you've picked up and listened to and gone, yeah, it's good. Changing your beliefs
someone
is
else's
so
narrative.
healthy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I picked up some awful beliefs.
I think that's where it's really good, where you get to that. I mean, you sort of, like you say, you're really young, so a lot of what your parents say you take it, because they are, I mean, they're teaching you, if you know, good parents are teaching you the skills that you need for life. So early on, that's fantastic, and that's what you should do. Then you kind of get to a point where you go, ooh, you know, sort of, whether it's your early, mid, or late teens, you start to question things, and you're like, is that just my parents' opinion, or is that actually fact? And then you get that sense of rebellion, and it's like, well, no, I don't, that doesn't sit right for me, even though my parents said so, you know, and you start to form your own opinions.
And how do their beliefs form?
Yeah.
You know, how do their beliefs form?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They've carried them on from other generations. And
I don't think as a child or a teenager, I certainly never questioned a belief. I didn't know there was a thing, a belief, or questioning it. It is what it is, and part of you doesn't understand these are beliefs and these are, but this is where I operate from. But you might go, that why do they do that, or I don't understand that. But it's not set in that you kind of really understand. I'm forming beliefs about this, and until later, when. And even now, I'm still happy to change a belief about something if I find that there's a better way to look at things.
And that's super healthy, just the ability
it's very healthy
to not be stuck in one way of thinking. And I know myself, I find that I mightn't have radical shifts, but I do find that my opinions are constantly evolving on things. You know, I mean, your central things of, like, you know, integrity or trust, or, you know, there's a lot of things that are very hard set, you know, but then there's other things that I just think, I don't know about that, you know.
No, because a lot of those you spoke about are values, and we have values, and we really live by values, and our values also form our beliefs, but it's when a belief goes against a value that you start to question it as well.
Oh, wow. Because again, I guess it's that conflict of something that you've learned and held as a belief, or have you made? Yeah, that's interesting. What's a belief and what's a value?
What's a value? Yeah, our values are core, and they are the things that we stick with, like as you say, honesty, and maybe integrity. It might be accountability. We all have a set of values that are really important to us. It's really interesting. If you know, I listen to a lot of stuff and I read a lot of stuff about values, but your beliefs can change. But sometimes beliefs sit with your values, and sometimes your beliefs are not sitting with your values. So it's time to maybe have a look at that belief, or that's when you start to get, you know, that's something's, you know,
and so then what's the result of that when your values and your beliefs don't align?
I think, then you really need to look at a belief, and what about that belief, is it sitting well with you, and where did that belief come from, and how did it form, and is it again, is it serving you? Is it, if that's a belief you've got, that's self-awareness. Knowing that I have that belief. I actually have a belief about that. Oh, wow. That's not a great belief to have. So it's that inner work. We don't have to, I always say to people, self-analyzing will do your head in. It will make you crazy. But reflecting is excellent. Reflecting, like you're talking to a friend going, Craig, well, what is that belief? You go, I don't know, my mum and dad said it, or, I don't know. It's just how I've always thought. Well, if you think accountability is one of your core values, but you think it's okay for this to happen, and you might go, that actually is really, that maybe not then.
Yeah,
I'll
you
tell you a
think you're
little story.
accountable, and yes, please.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little story, and it's about how we just do things. We had a beautiful naturopath guy come to a place I worked once, and he was doing a talk about healthy foods and naturopathic stuff. Lovely, lovely young guy. And he said about how we just get set in our ways. We just do things automatically. And he said when he did a roast lamb, he cut off that little, is it a little shank bone? That little funny
the
leg of lamb, and that he said, cut it off, put it in the oven. And his wife said to him, why do you always cut that off? He goes, what do you mean? She said, why are you cutting that off? He said, oh, my mum did it. I don't know. And he went to his mum and he said, why did you cut off? She said, my mum, her mum did it. And so they realised, do you know why his grandmother did it? Was because the ovens were so small, the little green ovens. So in order to get the baking dish in and the tray, you didn't have much room, so you had to cut that off.
Wow.
So she had done it for a reason. Her daughter had done it. Now he was doing it, and it wasn't until his wife said, why do you do that? And he said, oh, I don't know. And his mum didn't know. Isn't it gorgeous? I love that story.
Yeah,
that's us.
Yeah.
It's a great story. I always remember that because of it's so true. If somebody said, why do you do that? My mum did it. My dad did it. Or I don't know. It's just what I do. Why?
And I guess some of those behaviors they're like tradition. You're aware that my mum did it, so I like to do it. But then, in that example, there's some things you're not even aware of. You don't even realize, that's just something they did. Wow.
Yes. And it made me look at, even when I'm cooking, I'm like, am I just doing that because it just is something, or is there a reason behind it? So, and that goes for lots of things in life.
Again, especially those early learned behaviors, the things that when you were first learning about the whole world from your parents or whoever the influence was, that you just do without thinking. Just becomes a second. I guess that's why it's second nature. It's not in your natural nature, but it's your second nature. Things you've learned.
It's great to explore it. Again, don't hammer yourself, but you can just look at things and go, what is that about? See, you say you learn from your parents and your caregivers and that, but if you come from a really dysfunctional childhood and a really crazy, life, you're going to question a lot of things later.
It's even good, I think, even if you've had a good upbringing, which I did, but it's good when you get to those. I think I got to about 19, I first left home, went into the army. So I was doing a lot more on my own independently. And that was when I first started to go, okay, well, what do I think about that? Or who
am I in the world?
Yeah. It's that whole, journey of self-discovery and where do I fit into things, what do I think,
Yeah. Absolutely, is individuation. So it's, who am I in the world? That's right. Now, I don't know, and I don't know. What do I like? What would I do? Yeah. And for me, it was the opposite of your experience. I did not have a good childhood, so I had to really look at how I was and who I was. And when I had children, that really challenged who I was as a parent, because I had nothing but negative to draw upon.
Yeah, wow.
So it's when you do a lot of learning, a lot of self-discovery.
And so again, that self-awareness.
You've disappeared again, Craig.
No.
I don't know why.
Must be just an internet thing.
Hang on. I'm just disconnecting and connecting. Hold that thought. You have to do a bit of editing here. I don't know why it keeps. It's
technology. We'll leave it in. It's all good. These things happen.
Hang on. Wait a minute.
Something sounded like a kick back in then.
Yeah, I disconnected and connected these.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's right. All of a sudden you go, well, I don't believe. When I did, my mother died about 7 years ago, and she was interesting woman, and I did her eulogy, and I thought, I can't, in my circumstances, our family was there, and we all knew my mum, and I couldn't get up and go, what a lovely woman she was, and it was all good. So I did some nonsense stuff which everybody just loved and related to, but I talked about how she taught me many things, and one of my quotes was, that she said, all men are bastards. All men are bastards. And I said, not necessarily. But it's I was sort of saying how she taught me things in the world, but they were the sort of things. So obviously I'd cleared that up a long time ago, but it was a bit of fun at her funeral just to say, the things that mum used to say.
Yeah.
Which came from a strange place.
And look, that's such a great point, because I know that where you hear of, let's just say, examples where people are abusive as adults, it's quite common for them to have been abused themselves, hurt people, hurt, that kind of thing.
Hurt people, hurt.
And,
yeah.
It's a classic, I guess, a classic situation. But the people that had that awareness, which, like yourself, to go, hey, I may not have had the best upbringing, but to have that awareness and go, I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm not going to repeat those behaviors. I'm not going to let that be.
I know. And you know what's fascinating about that? John talks about the lobsters. You put them in a bucket, the lobsters, and if one almost climbs out, the others kind of drag it back down. I don't know if they're trying to climb on it to get out, but they inevitably pull the lobster down so nobody can get out. And my experience with childhood was nobody who's in a dysfunctional, miserable sort of life wants you to get out of that bucket. So when you do anything, like my experience was when I did do anything well, or I was not popular. And I think of the kids, it always, with my children, I think of these kids from pretty crappy families, and they're trying to get it. So hard for them to move out of that because they're frowned upon. Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
It's that mentality. It's like, who do you think you are? You think you're special. So they pull them back into their misery. Misery loves company.
I was just going to say, is it the misery loves company kind of scenario?
It's crazy. So it's so difficult for young children or teenagers to move into a good, healthy headspace or life when I always remember thinking, so when I used to go to high school, I used to say, it's like I live on two planets. I live on a really dysfunctional, weird planet at home. And when I go to school, I'm expected to live on this entirely different planet where I'm supposed to be a certain way and act a certain way and sit in class and listen and did I do my homework and everything's normal. Couldn't be more removed from home. So it's so difficult to balance the two worlds.
Do you think is that a coping mechanism?
In what way?
Like of having that thought that, okay, I've got my home life and then my non-home life. Did that become a bit of a coping mechanism?
Maybe so. Yeah, I think it was adapting more than coping. It was like, I have to be a certain way here because at home it's just crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And the real world doesn't live in my house. Yeah. Nothing sort of feels like a real world in my home. Yeah, it's a really bizarre, it's sort of how I viewed it. I just thought it's like I'm living two lives, and school is just a normal place where you go and learn and sit in a classroom and have lunch and chat to your friends.
Yeah, wow. And so did you find that you kept the knowledge of what may have happened at home quiet? Did you sort of keep that?
Yeah. There was a few friends that so I had some really close friends, and I had a best friend. I always call her my best friend, Christine Chawartha, my best friend right through high school. And she's still my beautiful, gorgeous, beautiful friend. Get that out there, Christine. And she also had, so my formative years were spent we lived in Richmond, in the Richmond Flats. We were fortunate, lived in the 3-story. But
wow,
pretty
that's where my
crazy.
grandmother, that's where my nan was born and grew up in. My pop always said, dragged up in the mean streets of Richmond.
Absolutely. But, it was home.
Yeah,
and there were a lot of great things about it. You put in a lot of people with a lot of bad things happening to them all in one spot. So I think we know how that plays out. But there were circumstances. That's what had to happen. But I would pick up Christine on the way to work every day. And she didn't live in the flats, but she had also family trauma. And so it became just this bizarre, our conversations were just quite crazy. It's like, yeah, what happened to you last night? Oh, yeah, this happened. And yeah, that happened to me. And so we do all this. We sort of it was very normal for us to talk about a lot of abnormality. And then I remember at school one day, I was quite nervous because loud noises made me jump. They actually still do. And all sorts of things. And I remember a teacher came and smacked his ruler down on the desk and said, stop talking. Fancy that, me talking. And he said, stop talking and something. And I nearly hit the roof. I was so distressed by it. And I don't know, I always wonder, I felt as though he must have heard part of the conversation or something later, because he really changed. And I think he got a sense that we had come from pretty dysfunctional homes. Because I guess it wasn't in his thoughts that people just turn up at school, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think so. I just always felt as though he got a sense somehow, or he overheard something, and he went, oh, these kids are from stuff's going on. So he was really different after that. But I had Christine, which was great. And yeah, it's crazy stuff.
Was it kind of a baptism of fire thing?
Goodness,
Where
you're gone
because
again.
both
hang on.
disconnect and reconnect.
I wonder what we can do.
I think it's just the internet. They have to fix that internet.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hear you.
Hey?
It's kicking back in now. Hang on.
Cool.
Sorry. I don't know why. How's that?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah,
Awesome.
sorry about that.
Cool. I was just saying, I wonder if it was like a baptism of fire thing that made you so close, because you'd both been through that similar shared experience.
Yeah, you just do. And you just do. And it was normal. There was nothing, you didn't have to hold back. You'd say this happened and that happened. The weirdest things would happen, but you could just say it. And it was a bit, we used to laugh. We'd like, oh, this happened to me and that happened to me. It was like, this place is crazy. What is this? Where? What's happening? It's like, who throws a shoe? That's my childhood. Like, who throws a shoe? Who does that?
Yeah.
I've started to write a book about my childhood, many years ago, and I've got to finish it. But so much of it was like, who does that? Like, what was that?
Yeah.
What the hell was that about?
That could be your working title. What the hell was that about?
What the hell was that? Who throws a shoe? Why?
Wow.
It's pretty interesting. It's so that's a big part of stuff.
And I guess that is something that, because you have such a large part of your life is dedicated to helping others and to healing, that's obvious. Well, not obviously. That's probably a large part of where it's come from. It's that I've been through this. I would love to not see these things happen to others.
If I can help someone to heal things a lot quicker, and I needed a lot of healing. I needed to work through a lot of things, because you tend to go out and statistically things happen for you when you've come from a dysfunctional childhood. So I wanted always to not live the same life.
Yeah.
And they were troubled, they were challenged. It was crazy, and they were stuck in their life. But I didn't want more of that. So I worked really hard to overcome a lot of things. And as you say, I want to say to people, if you work, you've got to work on stuff, and you can make changes. Not saying it's magic and it's a miracle and it's easy, but you can make changes. You don't have to be stuck with, that's my lot. That's my lot in life. That's the hand I was dealt.
Yeah. And often, as we did mention a little bit earlier, like often that is really, really hard to look at yourself, to look inwards, and to start to pull some of those things apart, especially if it has been sort of childhood trauma, early traumatic events.
Yeah.
To revisit that, that's really hard. It's that, I guess it's that kind of saying of ripping off the old scabs, ripping off the old wounds. You're having to revisit a lot of that early trauma, but you kind of, I guess, I don't know, I guess you have to be able to fix some of those things.
And you have to want to do something about it. I think sitting going, that's just how it is about the worst thing you can do. Well, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
I recently saw a client who has been upset about a particular thing, shall we say, for about 16 years and hasn't sought help. And I saw her recently, and that's enormous and huge to come and go, I need to do something. Enormous. Yeah. And, we talk about those insights, and when you start to explore things, and it doesn't have to be all ugly and digging and horrible, but just some stuff. And I don't think I'm talking out of school, but I said, she came back with things, and I said, is that new? Did you know that? And she said, I did not know that about me. And that's that self-awareness and some insights. And then you go, oh, that's what happens. Wow. So it's just sort of, and then, you can dig. So I can dig in fairly deep, and nearly always, always it is, the childhood, the wounds of the childhood. So if you can, and I do a lot of the inner child work.
Yeah.
And so if you can just, and that's, you might do one session that's really deep, and it might really bring up some fantastic results. So I don't want to dig into the people's miseries week after week, but the more you understand too about how it plays out, the more you understand it. Like, I understand my first marriage. I go, I know exactly why I would have married that person, why that person would have married me, and why it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's not just he did, she did, I did. It's like, I get why. I get exactly why I would have gone into that. And the biggest reason for everybody is that they're trying to heal the childhood wounds. And so we go into circumstances because the psyche wants that healed.
Yeah. It's fascinating. But I know that from talking to you previously, you've mentioned like people's shadow behaviors and those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's a ripper. It's a ripper. Yeah. And these are things, I call them blueprints. I don't know if, I wish I had a better name, but there are some fantastic blueprints. And if you go, I understand that now. So if this is happening again, just reflect in. You don't have to get digging and crazy, because it's hard work. But if you can go, well, I know that must be because. So that's really interesting. So what is happening? Oh, okay. It's my shadow. Okay. Or, it's because. So there's about maybe half a dozen. I'm just going to plan a workshop actually very soon, just up here where I live, and just people to come in and just go through some of these beautiful blueprints. If I can give them I call them gold nuggets. If you can, if here's some stuff and they go, okay, something's going on for me, I can use one of those tools. I can understand. Firstly, I can understand what's happening. Secondly, do something about it. How good is that?
And I guess the great thing with those workshops is, firstly, you're creating that safe space for people. And it's not like a one-on-one where you're really digging down, but just like you say, to be able to give people some general kind of skills or some knowledge where they can go, ooh, I wasn't even aware that there were things without even looking at what the thing is. I wasn't even aware that concept. And so you're starting to trigger people's new journeys.
Well, you're educating people.
Yeah.
And on my website, I've got, you don't know something until you learn it, and you don't. Exactly like you said, you don't know it exists. You don't know shadow exists. You don't know how that plays out in your life. You don't know it's a thing. But when you do, and you can go, let me see if I could do some work with that. My God, you can make changes in your life.
Yeah. It's fascinating. It's those, without knowing a lot about it, it's those neurological pathways. It's those new pathways in your brain where you do the same thing, but then something that you learn or something you've seen or heard for the first time, and it creates that new pathway. And you're like, wow. And something like, they've done those studies where it actually lights up in your brain and it's a new pathway. It's exactly that. It's that, oh my God, wow, that's...
But it's also, for me, I was like, oh, fantastic. How good's this? I've got something. I've got something tangible. I can go, oh, that's something. So that's what I can now go, is that why that happens? What can I do about it?
Yeah.
Or do I just go, oh, well, that's just my lot? Or like, oh, that's happening because... So it's growth. It's personal growth. You should be doing it forever. And only if you want better. Some people love being stuck and locked in victim. That's the hugest thing. People are locked, trapped, locked, and they will not budge out of victim. They identify with it so strongly. And I know all the training I had through Sandplay was our greatest gift to our client is to get them out of victim. It's the greatest gift to the client.
I remember visiting your office years ago with Michelle and seeing your Sandplay setup. Something I'd never heard of prior to that. That was literally the first time I'd ever seen or heard of it. So for people that have never heard of Sandplay, of this concept of Sandplay, tell us all about it.
Well, I think Sandplay is also like art therapy, which I do as well. And I can work without those things too. But it's your unconscious on display. So all of our thoughts and memories are in images, all of it. Our dreams are in images. And so we don't call so Sandplay, and this is where I struggled in the early years because I've been doing this for about 18 years, and it was really frustrating because people had no clue what Sandplay Therapy was, and it's so profound. It is so fantastic, and they would say, "Oh, so I'm going to have to sit in the sand." So no, you are not going to sit in the sand. So it's been around for about 70 years. It followed on from some people who invented play therapy, and then mainly for children, but really the gift is working with adults. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. Love working with kids too. So it has become more and more known. So you'll have a room and you'll have a tray that's a certain size and it's got sand in it, and technically or usually painted with a blue bottom and sides to represent water. Put sand in it. Sand, of course, is movable, and the only constant in our life is change. So sand is change and movement. And then you have figurines. We call them figurines or symbols. They're never toys. And so everything, as I'm going on and on here a bit, but you asked.
No,
so
it's
everything.
Yeah. Because people that aren't aware, it's something they may be hearing for the first time. So please.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so everything on the planet, and I think in the entire universe, is about energy. So everything has an energetic component to it. Everything is energy. So 100%. All the pieces. So you might work. So as in a Sandplay Therapy, the way I work, there are different therapists, and this is the way I was trained and that I love working. It's called active Sandplay. So it's very directive and interactive. There are ones that stanza, I think, it's about being silent. I just work differently, but it suits, that modality suits me. And so you'll get the biggest thing is to get the person out of their stories, because all the stories are the same. If you hear somebody, I'm bullied here and I'm bullied there, and I'm bullied over at work and I'm bullied at the netball and I'm bullied here. So it's the same story, and you could sit there and listen to their stories till the cows come home, but you're not helping them. No. You're not helping them to fix anything or sort anything. So you get them as soon as you can. You're kind of dropping them into their body feeling. We talked about body. We talked about feelings. And so once you get them in there, you could get them maybe to a place where they're kind of really quite settled and they've got a feeling. So then you might say, let's do a Sandplay around that. And you're very silent then while they go to the shelves and just choose some pieces. And they pick pieces, they put them in the tray, wherever, however they want. And you check in, do you need any more, and all that sort of stuff. And then you would start the session with basically how you're feeling when you look in the tray. And you'll move on from there. So 2 things happen. One is that placement in the tray is really, really interesting. Shadow is very big. We talked about shadow. Carl Jung is shadow work. And that work I do is very Jungian based. So there will be conflicts, placement, contradictions, shadow, stories will play out. There's a million different things that could happen in the tray physically, but also with the person. And sometimes I've talked about the one piece and then gone into process with a person and completely not gone back to the tray. We just work deep to get that, because it might trigger someone. The psyche wants to heal. The psyche, they're there because the psyche wants to heal, and it's presented, and their psyche has put it in the tray because it wants to be worked on. It wants to be healed.
Wow. True.
Yeah.
So even right back to what they actually chose off the shelf, what they put down.
Yeah. And they have no clue. They're going, I don't know why I put that there. And that's the head. It doesn't matter why. And what if I'd put this piece? But you didn't. And quite often, even though the pieces are relevant, they can be completely irrelevant. Like I said, one piece, and then we're going into a beautiful process where you get into how something really originated, and you're trying to change that.
Yeah, wow.
It
must be really fascinating to see it play out and to work with.
Love it. Love it. And love when I always feel very humbled that I can go through that process. But when they make a shift, it is so beautiful. Yeah, it's really, really beautiful process when they are courageous enough to have a little dig, and you just go in, and I'm very gentle, but I'm directive. I'm there for them, so it's no use pussyfooting around, for the want of a better word. I want to help them to have a quick sort of outcome, and it is a beautiful thing. People have, so that's the work. It is so beautiful, and kids are completely different. When the kids they are very different. So when an adult does it, they put their pieces and they don't move them.
Okay.
We explore, we do things. They're in and they're set. But children, their little psyche is different again, and it moves around the tray. So they will learn resilience and problem solving because they can be in control in the tray. So they will move things and they will put things here, and they will. And if you say to them, it's just brilliant. You might say might see a piece, a big monster behind them, go, oh, that piece, no, that piece. I know, as I say, a lot of people work very silently. I don't. Oh, is this piece, no, that one's over there? And immediately they answer you, oh, yeah, he knows, but he's his friend. Or, yeah, he's coming and he's going to get him in a minute anyway. And they've got this whole, and how girls, boys, trays are like polar opposites usually. It's fascinating. So they then their psyche is healing within the tray. It's like making their own world and solutions and fixing things and sorting things, and it's pretty fantastic.
And then you can see how that story plays out and how it relates to whatever the particular thing is that they're there to fix.
Yes, because people think their kids come in and talk about their family, and I've had very, 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 very few kids that have actually mentioned their family. It's just their world. And so they're not saying my mum did this or my dad did this. A story I think it's okay to tell. A lady had a little girl, and she had a baby that then died of cot death, which was, I could barely not have a lump in my throat thinking about. Yeah. And she brought the girl to me, but the girl put in a baby in her first maybe half a dozen trays. She put in a baby. The baby was always naughty. I'm getting a nice cup of tea handed to me. So the baby was always naughty. And if you think about that little girl's psyche, this baby has this extraordinarily dreadful thing that's happened, has created problems in the home. Mum's not happy anymore. Dad's not happy anymore. Things are, so she was putting it in the tray, but the baby was naughty. And then after several weeks, the baby either didn't come in or the baby was really having fun and playing, and the whole psyche of this little girl shifted. But her psyche needed to do that. Does that make sense?
And how old was this girl at this stage?
She was about 5.
Okay, right.
Yeah. And they'd had another baby. So, that was, really, really difficult for everybody. I can't imagine. And they were doing a brilliant job. And the little girl was absolutely gorgeous. But it was fascinating because we don't think, they got to go through a lot. Everybody had to go through a lot. And credit to our parents. The parents that bring them, I've got nothing but absolute praise for, that they're wise enough and caring enough and wonderful enough to bring these beautiful kids to me. Not every child is brought from the parents. It's maybe through departments, but those parents are just gorgeous. And she was just beautiful. And she really made big shifts, that little girl.
Wow.
So how beautiful and healing is that?
Yeah, that's amazing. And for someone like me that is not a healer, has never been a healer, but I can have an appreciation of what that must feel like. Obviously for the people that you're helping, it's miraculous. But even for you to be able to facilitate that, to be a part of that, that must be just an
absolutely beautiful,
incredible feeling.
It is. Sometimes it's very humbling. As when you work with an adult, it tends to be very humbling and very privileged. And with the kids, it's just beautiful. You just, and their parents say things, they're changing, and so it's a gift. It's an absolute gift, and I love I can do that. Yeah. Absolutely beautiful. It's really hard. It also pulls on my childhood, and it's stuff I've had to work on when you do get the children from departments and they're belonging to some pretty dysfunctional families. I just wish the departments would fund the parents, because they need help. They need support. They need work, because it perpetuates, of course. They're in an awful relationship, or they've been in awful relationships. Usually it's the mums that come that have been gone through like a domestic violence, and they come through organisations that are supporting them, but they fund the children, and of course the parents can't afford these things. But you just wish they would fund the mums and all that sort of thing, because it comes back to those beliefs and what's the child picking up, and what are they, because the mums don't understand that they also can heal. I think they just are locked in victim, not consciously, not in a bad way, not a mean way, but they're locked in victim because that's what they've known. Crazy things. It's beautiful. All that work's just beautiful. Love it. But you can do it without the tray. You can just put people into this beautiful process. Art therapy is another one.
Tell us about the art therapy. I honestly don't know anything about art therapy.
Really great also. And I learned art therapy before I learned Sandplay Therapy. So it's also a bit like putting people get into the feelings and doing some artwork. And then you explore with them. You don't ever go, what do you make of that?
So when you say art, do you first
it's really
medium works best for them? Do you prefer to paint?
Yes,
do you like to sculpt?
Yes, I have all sorts of materials, and you firstly consciously, when you're in your talking place, say, look, there's materials there. When we finish your process, you'll move over to that table and you just move into that. You create whatever. I don't care if it's 2 black lines. Use the paints, use the pastels. Some people, if they've got a good studio set up, will use, clay and all that sort of thing. And say, just don't think about it. Stay out of your thinking. Stay in your feelings, and just let that just pour out into. Just express it. It's a representation of your feelings. Yeah. And when I do group work, I always say to them, we are not going to have an art exhibition at the end of this. And I go, oh. I go, that's right. Not about your art.
There'll be no prizes.
There'll be no prizes. Nobody gets a prize. Not everybody. So it's not about art. It's not about creating a piece of artwork. It's about a representation of your feelings. So they will then do that. And again, in that process, I'm very silent. Put on some music, let them just for as long as they like. And I just check in and say, let me know when you're finished. You can usually tell, or they'll look at you and say, I'm finished. And then you might just explore things and you don't interpret it. Like if you see a big black crayon, you don't go, ooh, what happened there? That doesn't look good, because that might be their happy place for whatever reason. Might be the quiet place they go, and they're happy there. So you might say, oh, maybe something like, tell me about this. What was happening up here? So you just start to explore things, and you're moving into their feelings, and you're exploring. They're getting insights. It's raising their self-awareness. They will often say, oh, when I did that, you must say, how do you feel about this picture? And that opens up everything straight away. They might go, I'm feeling really nervous. Oh, what are you nervous about? Well, I don't know why or they might go, I'm feeling stressed. I don't like this bit up here. And then, so you're just sort of moving them into this unconscious process.
Yeah. Wow.
Making sense. And again, you just.
How does it relate in both examples? So both with the Sandplay and the art therapy, how do they relate to storytelling? Is that kind of what the people are doing? Are they using the medium to tell their story?
It's hard to say. Tell a story.
Because it's their story, are they? It just strikes me that, traditionally you see on TV in the movies, which is pure fact, of course, but you see where the classic psychologist, how does that make you feel? So it's like, okay, you as an adult, this thing happened, how did that make you feel? And then there's all the kind of barriers and that sort of thing. It just strikes me that it's perhaps using the Sandplay or the art therapy for them to, because I'm conscious that you were saying about their feelings, going into the feelings. So is it about what their story is? They're using the art therapy or the Sandplay to tell.
Their unconscious wants to tell the story. Their unconscious, their conscious mind, you could never sit there consciously and say to them, how'd you feel about that? What happened there? And they go, oh, more problems. And I went to work and he said this and she said that. And you go, oh, that's pretty awful. What happened next? Oh, this. And so you're not helping, you're not fixing anything. You're not
no.
Fix. But this, if it's in Sandplay or art therapy, if it's expressed in either modalities, their psyche wants it healed, wants it worked on. So, and what I love, I'll tell you what I really love, is when people cover up or lie. They don't mean to, but they'll go, you've got this really overbearing piece, and they've identified maybe that they're feeling like this piece here. And you go, oh, how's that feeling? No, they're really good friends. They go, I don't think so. I love it. You can go, not seeing that. We're really, So if I look at this piece and it's huge and it's menacing and you're cowering in the corner, oh, and then you might say something like, who does that remind you of? Bang, you got your person and you got your issue, and they're like, oh, and they just drop into this, this fantastic insight. Wow. So their story is not a conscious story.
No. And that's, I guess, the idea behind it. It's
absolutely, because the conscious story is just, no, they're friends, they're great. I don't think so. Or like there's, a skeleton and they're going to swim over, and you go, really? I love it, because you can have fun with it. I mean, humor's brilliant. I can go, the skeleton is going to swim across that river. Yeah. And I go, really? I don't. That would be difficult, wouldn't it? Oh, and they go, no, they can't, because they get it. They're like, no, they can't. So you're stuck. They can't get to where they want to go. But what fantastic insight! Yeah. All of a sudden, they're dropped into, oh, it's a story I'm making up. Or I'm going to just swim over there, or you've got a boat in the sand, and it's, where you're going. Oh, we're going to in the sand. It's stuck.
Wow.
It's just, it's really. I mean, there's people who know 1,000 million trillion times more than me that are highly qualified in, degrees and on with the whole Jungian. But even this, what I've learned and what I work with is just so exciting, so good, so cool.
Oh, it is just, and just to even see how you light up every time that you talk about it. And I remember the first time as I say, visiting your offices. Michelle and I had just popped in one day to see you, and you were showing us around, and I saw the Sandplay, and you had all of the rows of shelves with, you know, different objects that they could choose from, and I was just fascinating, like absolutely fascinating.
When I first started, we did a little process just with a group. So I went into a community house and I said, let me show people about Sandplay. Pardon me, and I did this little example, or whatever you call it. The word's gone. The words, they're going. And I took in some sand with about maybe 8 different dogs, and I put them all in the sand. And I talked to people about Sandplay for a little bit, and I said, let's have some fun. And I said, just put your hand in and just get one. And so I'd been taught this in the early stages of Sandplay, that how you resonate, how there's an energy with these pieces. I was going to say before, when you tell people to choose, they go, which ones, you know, and you do the talking before you put them in the process, and you say, if you see a piece and it calls to you, put it in the tray, wherever you want. However, if you see a piece that calls to you and you don't like it, still choose it. Pieces tend to still choose it. I actually saw somebody do that recently. They looked at me, no, I went, is that calling to you? Because I thought they're just wandering on.
Yeah.
I said, oh, it was. What? You know, they weren't doing the same trip, but a piece. So this fantastic energy you have, and how they, because if there's a fantastic book, I'm trying to think, it was this particular guy that I read, and he said, you know, when you see an image or a symbol, the amount of memories that come back with a single image. I mean, you only got to look at a photograph or something, or see something. You go, I had one when I was a kid. Bang, you're writing all these memories. So these things unconsciously bring up a myriad of memories. So we did the dogs, and they all picked one, and I'm saying, okay, we had a few questions all planned. It was my early days, and, you know, how do you feel about that dog? Oh, it's nice dog. Or, oh, I hate this dog. It was some fabulous. It's an ugly bloody thing. I know I picked this one. So okay,
let's look at that.
Yeah, my ex-husband, he's a bastard. Yeah, reminds me of him. I go, wow. And they go, oh my God. They're looking around going, I can't believe that's come up. So there was some fabulous things that came out. Or, you know, what are some of the things you would say about this dog? Oh, it looks serious, it looks stern, it looks this, it looks this. Does it remind you of anyone? Oh, my teacher at school that I hated. Oh, I still feel bad about you know, it's crazy stuff. So that was fantastic. And one lady, I said, do you want to look at this a bit deeper? Are you comfortable in the group? And she did. And she had these enormous insights from a random dog out of 8 that she'd picked in the sand. The universe works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
You know, if the psyche wants to heal something, it's presented.
And I guess it's that kind of thing, you know, stepping back, looking at life generally, it's that whole thing of just showing up. Just by being there and being open to the process, you don't have to throw yourself wholeheartedly into it, because that's kind of to facilitate that. Just showing up is half the battle, you know, just being open to the possibility and taking that first step.
It's intention. Intention sets everything in place. It is absolutely everything. Where intention goes, you know, energy flows. So if they intend to come and work on something because they'd like it to be different, that's enormous. That's an enormous start. They intend to look at things because they'd like something different. It's not good how it is. Just scratch my ear. Here we go. So it's intention. Intention is huge. You know, what's your intent when you're talking to someone? What's your intent when you go? What's your intention when you get a new staff member at work? Is it just so somebody will sit in that chair? Is it so you'll have another person? You know, what's your intention?
And it helps us to understand each other better, you know, generally as humans, just to know, you know, like you think, oh, why have they done that? And then you find out the intention behind it. Oh, look, it was actually coming from a good place, you know, and then that changes your whole perspective or your perception of that thing completely. It flips it around because you're like, oh, oh, I kind of thought maybe it was coming from a bad place, but you're actually coming from a really good place. Bang, that whole story.
Changes everything. Just give it a minute, yeah. And that was sort of a gift in itself. My mother was the first one, as in, oh, they said this, they're awful, I hate their guts. She was so quick to hate people, and I mean hate, that's a strong word, but to hate somebody for something, or to disregard a person, or if they said that, and I call it a gift because for whatever reason, I'm sort of, that's it, exactly what you just said. That's it. Why would they have done that? I don't go, they're all assholes and who says that, and they can go stuff themselves. I'll go, they wouldn't. And it's somebody I know, they go, well, they wouldn't have meant it offensively. Funny thing to say. They're either misunderstood, or so I try to give I guess it's the benefit of the doubt, but I look behind the words or the action and go, something's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, because quite nearly always there is. So nearly always it's something else was happening. It's not.
And I know different genders respond to different things in different ways, but I know, like, even with Michelle and I, I'll I can't believe that happened. This happened, or someone did this or said that. But Michelle will go straight. Yeah, Michelle is really good at looking at the other. Like, it's kind of an empathy. She's very good at empathy and seeing
very, very
from the other perspective. So she'll be like, look, this has probably been because of this, or they've probably tried to do this, or they've thought that, or they wanted to do this. And I'll be like, oh, I didn't think of that. And it's just such a shift. And if you can do that naturally, with some people are better than others at, but just having that awareness of going, okay, well, what if it is not that thing that I jump straight to,
and that's the difference between reacting and responding. Reactions are all about, immediate reaction, and they're triggering and they're bringing things up. But if you stop and you do what you did and you think about it, then you're responding very differently. And if people can get out of reacting, an immediate reaction, like, move, or, another story. I got stories.
Love stories.
Years back. I love stories. I've got a few, just a few. But I was in the supermarket and I was waiting to be served, and the cashier had finished with the lady before me. I was pretty much, they're always like, how are you? How's your day? How you going? They're so lovely. And she was silent. She ignored me. She didn't look at me. And I'm putting all these groceries. I thought, oh, she's a bit shitty, isn't she? What's wrong with her today? It's getting all in my, look at her. What's wrong with her? She shouldn't even be a cashier if she's going to be this grumpy. That's what I was thinking, and I'm putting them all out. And she looked up. She said, oh, God, hello, sorry. She said, I was miles away then, thinking about something else. How are you today? And I thought, shame on me. Shame on me. What a terrific example how our minds can just, what a bitch, I'm thinking.
Yeah. And I mean, it is, I guess, commonplace for us to make it about us. I mean, we are the center of our own universes.
Our own universe, yeah.
Except unlike the Craig Griffin universe, where it's about everyone else. That's
others are welcome.
That's a different tangent. But that's our natural reaction, is to go, well, why have they done this to me? How dare they? Should you even be in hospitality, or should you even be working?
It's like, and they're like, the wrong one.
Wow. Hey, sorry, I was thinking something else, and you're like, oh, okay.
Naughty me. What a great, and that in itself is a gift. What a great gift. I learned from that. I thought, that's a fabulous lesson. Thanks, universe.
Yeah.
Thanks, something. That was great. I thought, lesson there. I'll share that on a podcast one day.
Exactly. You should do that. That's in all seriousness, someone may just hear that exact point, go off to the shops tomorrow, that exact thing or a similar thing happens, and they go,
that lady said.
That reminds me of exactly what Sharron said. I'm not going to make this all about me.
Why doesn't she
talk
to me?
How good if we can go, maybe this particular person that's serving me at the restaurant or, at the shop has something going on. or you know, they have a sick family member, or they've got something
they're
going
upset,
on.
something bad. They've just had a big fight at home, or they've lost someone that they love, dear to them, brother, sister, sibling, parent. You don't know what's happened to people, so just treat them kindly and move on. I mean, I'm assertive. We don't want to be treated poorly on purpose, and you know, in reality, I'll certainly be a different person then. But sometimes you just go, just leave them be. You know, something's happened for them. And if you just think about that and be a bit more empathetic, you go, yeah, that's what's happening.
And sometimes it is absolutely nothing to do with us whatsoever. It could be like, I always remember, you know, back in my early days of being an actor, doing auditions and going, oh my God, how did I not get that part? You know, and then you start to make it all about you. You know, it's like, oh my God, what did they think? I'm not good enough? What the fuck's wrong with them? How dare they? You know, fucking, I could be the best actor ever if you give it. And
they're missing out on.
And then I remember hearing somebody talk about the millions of reasons why you may not have got the part. It could just be that you didn't fit that character. You know, it's a very practical reason. You didn't fit that particular character. You are not the embodiment of what they thought that role was. But it could be beyond that. It could be because you wore a red sweater and they fucking hate red sweaters. You might look exactly like
memory thing. All women in red cardigans, you know, they're all evil. Lady up the street,
you might remind them of their, you know, their childhood bully or their next door neighbor who was really mean to them. You know, there could be a million, billion, trillion things. It could be the shirt you wore. It could be, you know, any number of things that are nothing to do with you, but you kind of just default to going, oh, it's me.
Yeah.
You know, and that helped me incredibly when I was doing these auditions and not getting the part. It's like, well, it could be something really simple that, like, you remind them of their ex-husband, ex-wife, you wore a particular color of shirt, or, you know, any number of things that are totally nothing to do with you. You can have no control over. You know?
It's so true. Yeah. And it's like, it's funny, when I used to do resumes years back for jobs, and people go, you don't put your age on. I go, put my age on. If they want a 20-year-old, I don't know their workplace. If they want a young, hip 20-year-old for their front reception, and I write, let's say I wrote when I was 45 or 50, let's just say, then they don't want me. Why waste their time? Why waste mine? Why make me go to an interview that I don't get the job and go, what's wrong with me? So I always do. I figure, just get real. It's not always about you. It's if they want, you know, they might want somebody really timid, somebody assertive, something, want somebody who fits into this, and I'm not it. I'm not going to get the job. So, especially if the age is it, because some people do. They want a mature woman for this job, or they want somebody who's had years of experience. They want someone fresh out of school. Well, if I don't put my age on there, they're getting someone fresh out of school. I walk into the interview and I go, whoa, oh, no, thank you. So,
or it could be the opposite. They go, look, thank God we thought you were 19 and straight out of school. Thank God we want someone that, you know, has a certain amount of life experience that they can bring to the role.
Exactly. But you're so right. It's not about us. We think everything's about us.
Which, again, it just comes back to that, you know, authenticity and being genuine and being you. Yeah. And if they don't fucking like it, tough luck. You know, it's like, it's better for you. It's better for them. It's like, you know, this is where we're at. And if it doesn't work,
just be real. And how things are don't always have to be how things are, you know. But be real. I'm not offended if they want a 20-year-old. That's their prerogative at work, to want a young, hip 20-year-old at the front desk. Why would they want me if that's what they want? You know, that's fair. And they should get what they want. That's their prerogative.
Yeah. In a strange but related way, that's exactly the reason why I've chosen to do the long form of podcast rather than the short. Because I remember hearing about how, like, in a podcast or an interview, the longer it is, the less chance there is of people covering up who they are, or pretending to be someone else, or not showing the full part of themselves. You just did this with your mouth. You just went, oh. coming back to what we're really.
All I'm thinking, God, I'm being really real. I'm always real. I struggle to behave or to be.
Coming back to our very first opening conversation of body language, you're like,
it's so great, isn't it? Like real, and it's who I am. I struggle to hide.
That's good. Anyway. I mean, that that's part of being open. But that's something that I remember thinking, that's a great thing about a longer podcast. Anyone can be someone else for 10, 15 minutes. But for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, it gets harder and harder and harder. So you can start to really find out more about people and who they are and what they're about, which is way cool.
Yeah. I love it. Sorry. Yeah, so exciting.
Oh, is that the time?
Oh, that's great. I think it's terrific, and I'm really happy that I'm on here. It's great.
I'm happy you're on here too.
Good.
I think you're definitely one of those guests that I would love to have back on, because there's so many different things that you can teach people about. Really knowing you have so many different facets of who you are, and there is a central theme. A lot of it is about healing and helping people, and then that's manifested itself in different ways, whether it is Sandplay or as a teacher, as a coach. It's the central theme is that sort of giving and service and giving back to people. But it's fascinating how those things.
My talking e-meat is saying goodbye. Connect again. Hold on, and I can still hear you. It's so true. I think you've got to have. I was talking recently. I've got an older sister who. I have a laugh because she's so steady, and she does what she does, and she's been doing it for a long time. And she's a beautiful, beautiful woman. I'm saying that in case she listens. No, she's gorgeous. and when I tell her I'm doing this and I'm doing that now, I think she sort of shakes a bit internally and says, "Oh," and I think, but. We're so different. We are so different. I love a challenge. I love something new. I love to explore things, learn things, do things, try things. If they don't work, try them again.
Yeah.
So I think poor Sue worries a bit about me, but her life is she does what she does so beautifully, and she has done things very long term and loves that, and is a lovely, beautiful woman who she's my gorgeous sister, but we're like chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was going to say before, when you said about us, it's so funny when you say about it being us. I remember a while back I had a break from different things. I thought I'll open a shop, because it's seeing people and enjoying. I think it was COVID, and I thought, I think it was it must have been during or before COVID or something, because COVID was a part of it. And so I opened a shop, but people would be coming. They're going to be, oh God, you're going to have to get shelves over here. Oh, you're going to have to put all your stock in. And they were exhausted. And I thought, you don't have to. Like, you could see them thinking, oh God, if I had to do this.
If it was me, yeah.
It was me. Oh, I'm tired thinking. I said, oh, that's okay. I could put the shelves in, and, I'll get the stock. That's what part of a shop is. And and you're going to have to do this. And I'm going, no, that's part of it. But they were standing in front of me exhausted.
Yeah.
And I so much, because they're going, I don't know how you could do it. And I thought, well, you couldn't. You're tired and you don't want to, or you're older or younger. You're just not interested, but you're not doing it.
Yeah.
But they immediately associated it with themselves. I really did get a bit of a giggle out of that.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And look, there's two sides to that. One, if it's not something you love or are passionate about or are inspired to do, it becomes harder straight away, because it's something you have to do to make that happen. If I had to set up a shop, I'd have to do this and this and this and this. That's one side to the coin. The other side of the coin is, I think there's a tendency for some people to stack obstacles up anyway, to default to that. Oh my God, look, you did there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that. Whereas just having that mindset of going, well, fuck it, like just jump in, we'll give it a crack.
See what happens. Yeah, you got to do that. Yeah, and if it works, there's the best saying ever. The only thing worse than failing is not trying.
Yeah.
And that's for me. Maybe for some people, trying and failing is so much worse than never trying. But for me, I want to try.
100%.
It's life. Yeah. Seriously, get in there.
As you know, I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk. One of the big things he constantly talks about is the 95-year-old with regrets of, I wish I had have done the podcast. I wish I had have got into Sandplay or art therapy. I wish I'd learned to play the guitar or learned to ride that motorbike or gone up in a hot air balloon or whatever the thing is, But the podcast is a perfect example. Something I'd wanted to do for ages. I'm like, I should do that. I'll give that a go one day, And then I think 3 or 4 times I'd kind of thought about it or planned on doing it, and for whatever reason, it just, timing's everything too, but it just hadn't worked out. And I'm like, no, I've got to do it because I don't want to, A, go to my grave, or B, be 105 and go, hey,
that would have been done that podcast.
I wonder what would have happened. I wonder if I would have enjoyed it. And to even have just done one show, it's like goal fulfilled. Even if I never did another show, and I love doing it, but even if I'd only done one show, just to have done it and to have experienced it and felt it, it's like that's everything. It's like you're ticking that box,
Yeah. And you're saying, give it a go. You asked me, and I went, yeah, cool. That will be good.
Yeah.
I tried not to go into, I thought, no, this is great.
Exactly.
Fun.
And that's very easy to do for a lot of people.
You just got
to go, not just with the podcast, with anything, to go, okay, I don't know.
I tell you a fantastic thing that Chase Hughes talks about all the time, and it is brilliant. And if people do nothing else but take this on board, he says, all of that, if we can lose our fear of social judgment, we're like kicking goals all the way. So everything we don't do is based around, what will people think? People are judging, and we judge all the time. People say I don't judge. There's judging and judgmental. Judgmental is different, but judging, of course we do, because we need to know our place in the world. You're judging that against that all the time. That's Alan Watts talks a lot about. There's no inside if there's not outside. There's no up if there's no down. So everything has to have that. And so it has to have, because what does out mean if there's no such thing as in? What does it even mean? What does dark mean if there's no such thing as light? Like it's just
what's a good day without a bad day?
Bad day and all that stuff. But he talks about public speaking and how really it boils down to, it's not what is public speaking? What's the fear of public speaking? It's about social judgment. What will people think of me? And I'm constantly working on that. Hence, I'm on here and I'm saying stuff, but I'm constantly reminding myself to lose. It's not easy to do, of course, but to keep working on losing my fear of social judgment.
Yeah.
To try and lose that fear. And if you can, well, then public speaking isn't an issue. Doing this isn't an issue. Trying that, being here, doing whatever isn't an issue. Is it?
No. And look, we are tribal. We're tribal. We're from the earliest days, the darkest days of mankind. We're tribal. So we're used to fitting in and trying to fit in and being part of a tribe. But look, 100%, it's about just, being you and not letting what other people might think or say stop you from doing
it. They can think it all they like. They've got their prerogative. They can think what they like, but not stopping yourself from doing things because people might think, what would people think? You focus on how many times you hear people say that. What about you do this? What will others think? What will people say? Wow. It's crazy when you start looking for it and go, that is really a thing that is really holding people back.
And what a gift to be able to say to yourself, but luckily, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, how about I don't focus on it? How about I do it anyway? And whatever they think, they've got every right in the world to think. And then what? Well, nothing. They're just thinking that. Then what happens to me? Absolutely nothing. So
exactly.
do you think?
Yeah.
You know, learning, I won't go into it, but, you know, when learning to do the corporate training, it's like, you know, do you have to do this and have to do that? And I really got like, oh, I don't want to be all corporate-y, and it's not who I am. I'm really like animated, and then I just got to the point where I thought, but I can, but that's who I am when I am corporate training. That's who I am. I don't want to be something else and assume they want that and are judging me because I'm not. I'm just going, well, this is how I am. I'm going to show up, and, you know, if they want someone stuffier and corporate-ier, they get another person. So it's been a great learning curve. It's been good.
Yeah, yeah. I saw this workshop ages ago of this guy who was a trainer, and exactly that. He rocked up in like jeans and a t-shirt. He was very casual. He was just very open and honest. He mentioned about how he'd been in jail and about how his dad was a magician and all of these kinds of things, and just that total dropping of the guard. And yet, rather than go, oh, fuck, I don't think you could learn anything from this guy, it was the opposite. You went, oh, fuck, this guy's like a real human being. So then you get that point of connection, you know, and it's the opposite effect. Rather than going, oh, this guy's not wearing a three-piece suit, you know, and wearing a Rolex, and you go, oh, fuck, he must be successful. It's the opposite. It's about going, well, this person's really, really real, and that makes them really relatable, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, because you've got to be authentic, you've got to be real, and they're people. You're just talking to people, and I agree. And but again, that was a learning for me. That was a shift. That's something I had to work through. So I'm saying you've got to constantly, there's work. It wasn't a big deal, but it was like, no, really, because I started to feel angst. I started to feel, oh, what do I really do? Corporate. I'm not a corporate person. And so, okay, then I'm not in my flow. I'm clunking, you know, I'm knocking. I'm not flowing. So that, oh, well. Yeah.
And it's that kind of Steve Jobs thing of people that break the mold, you know, the ones that dare to step outside of the, you know, of the circle, step out of the boundary and do things their own way. They're the ones that quite often end up making the biggest difference or the biggest impact, you know.
Yeah. I'm watching a guy at the moment, Calvin Coyle, NLP, and I've just been watching and doing some of that stuff. And like I'm going to swear.
The NLP did.
Yeah. And NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And he's famous, and he's got people in, you know, 180 countries, and millionaire, billionaire, and he does all this stuff, and he's fantastic. But he says fuck about every second word. No, fuck it, he says. Oh, give it a crack. Just have a crack, he says. No, fuck this, fuck that. And like I go, well, that's who he is. So he's bringing his authenticity, and he's doing this all over the world. Hasn't it? It's big business. Wild Success, it's called. And I think things are shifting, though. I think things are shifting, that people like Gary Vee, as you said, every second word he says is F. And like he's just saying, do the bloody thing. You're not going, stop bloody carrying on.
lives in jeans and a t-shirt and swears, and, you know, is like mega successful, runs multiple companies. The CEO.
Look at Joe Rogan.
Joe
Rogan swears like a trooper, gets people on, says, he's brilliant. Oh, you know, I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, because again, Joe Rogan is just himself. He's friends similarly, Dana White of the UFC. You know, runs this $14.5 billion company, you know, that the UFC has become. And yet, same thing, jeans, t-shirts, swears himself, and, you know, calls things. He's a classic for calls things as he sees them, and just, you know, his classic saying is just, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, that's right. So that's social judgment and losing that fear of it and presenting authentically. And there's obviously people might question, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Sure, within reason, you've got to. And there's the other school of thought that is, you know, it's how you feel when you are dressed well and when you present. And so there's all that, but just bring it all into the mix and go.
And again, it's about intention. If you are dressing a certain way because it makes you feel a certain way or gives you a certain confidence, happy days.
Mhm.
But if you're doing
Yeah.
it because you're going, oh, I want people to think I'm successful, so I'll wear a Rolex and I'll wear the suit or
Yeah.
whatever, then the intention behind that is all wrong. If you're doing it because you go, when I wear a suit, I feel calm, comfortable, or serene, confident, or whatever.
Nice.
Wear the suit, wear the Rolex, whatever works. But if you're doing it because you go, oh, like this is my uniform, and I want people to think that I'm a certain thing, then the same behavior but the different intention behind it.
Yeah, intention. Intention is everything. I think
Tell
I
me
might need a break. But what was that? Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just we'll continue. I was going to ask you about the NLP, but let's have a quick break and we'll come back.
Okay. Yeah, because I want to hear more about what you're doing also, Craig.
So,
It's not all about me, is it?
to be continued.
Yeah.
Fucking love it. I fucking love it.
Come on, Bob. No, let's go.
All right, and
Stop
we're
it.
back. Nice little break there. We've just come in off the back of doing some English accents during the break. Then, as I was just telling Sharron about a show that we're watching on Paramount called Mobland. Tom Hardy, Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, numerous other guests. So good, love it. It's really good. You'll have to check it out. But as we were just saying, it does make you sort of do the English accent or a kind of a weird Australian version of the English accent.
Yeah.
So glad to be back now. Before our break,
We think we're doing an English accent.
exactly, and they hear us and just go, "What? Are you taking a piss?"
What?
Before our break,
Like when
we were
Americans do an
talking-
Aussie accent in films and anything. That is so
Oh,
awful.
isn't it the worst? I must say, because so many Australian actors end up in American films, we are super good at American accents, but there's very few American actors that can nail the Australian accent. It's really hard to do the other one. And as much as she's an awesome actress, that Dingo took my baby, that was never good. He's a legend, but yeah, no Dingo took my baby.
You're like, ooh, it hurts my ears.
There was an Australian accent someone did recently.
Actually, I like the
Yep. What were you going to say?
what about that movie? God, it's funny with Robert Downey Jr. They're in the jungle.
Tropical
is it
Thunder.
Jack Black?
Tropic Thunder.
They're filming. Oh
Yeah.
God, that's so good. And he's a a white man playing a black man playing an Aussie playing something. And he does an Aussie accent.
I've seen Robert Downey Jr.
it's a great
talking about that behind the scenes. I think it was on Rogan, and they were talking about how they were filming that. So funny. They were saying they probably couldn't even get away with it today. The stuff that they got away with in that, they probably couldn't get away with today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, you can't get away with a lot today.
No, it'd probably be a little politically incorrect. We're a little bit more sensitive than I think what we were in days gone by.
I think we're a lot more sensitive than we were in days gone by. I think we could say a lot. Now, what were we talking about? You remember?
Yes, NPL, Neuro-Linguistic, NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Do tell
programming.
us. I don't know. I'm aware of it. I've heard of it.
Oh, well,
Tell me all about it.
Yeah, I probably don't know a lot more than you, except it's been around for a very, very, very long time. As I said to John, my darling husband, anybody who's anybody has done NLP. So this guy just put it on there. I've looked at it for quite a while to learn. And I signed up for a program, I think a year and a half or so ago, and I didn't pay a lot, but I didn't get to do it. And then this guy came up and he was offering a fast track NLP certificate for free. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
cool.
I thought, well, worst case, if he's awful and it's bad, I can just, unsubscribe.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just got to connect my Bluetooth again. It's going to be very naughty today. So I thought I'll give it a go. It's been absolutely brilliant. So it's like it's 2 times a week for 4 weeks. So it's 8 sessions. And they go for about an hour, but when he's on, they go for about 2 hours. He talks million an hour, and he's given us for free some fantastic, valuable, wonderful stuff, which is brilliant. I've been writing lots of notes. So I've got Tuesday and Thursday to go this week, I think. So he also offers from there, he is selling a program, needless to say. But I love to do it. But I thought I have done a lot of paying for things and learning things. I need to really knuckle down and kind of have what I've got consolidated and keep moving forward. Time-wise, I also didn't really feel like I had a lot of time to invest in that at the moment. But it's really fantastic. So Neuro-Linguistic Program, it's very much like we've been talking about beliefs, values. I find it so hard to articulate, but it's about habits, and I'm even looking at my notes here. I was watching the thing before. Self-sabotage. So they have a lot of routines, rituals, habits. It's sort of like it's almost like a very, very directive, in a very positive way, smack you in the face, coaching, here, bang, this is what. So it's good. It's very cognitive. The work I do is not very cognitive, but this is like, but they still actually, it was brilliant to see that it's still very Jungian based. They talk about archetypes and Jungian stuff. So it's still it's called transformative NLP. So they have taken on a bit of a different slant, but it's like I could do a process with you, say, close your eyes. You might have a limiting belief. So a lot about limiting beliefs, and a lot about anchoring in and ritual. So he talked about how we do things because there's a ritual around it. I was trying to, and I watched things once. I've got to watch them a few times to remember the facts. I'm not great at this, but for example, this guy used to snort cocaine. Not that guy, of course. Another guy.
Another guy.
Another guy. Maybe it wasn't. It's very interesting that he knows this stuff. This guy I know. And he talks about even like with coffee, and you would get this because your coffee making is very much a ritual. And the guy was, doing the cocaine. And so it was about, I don't even know, cocaine. I don't know. If you put it on the thing and you chop it up and you snort it or whatever you do, but it's like there's this whole process to it. Yeah. And then he went to jail for whatever reason, obviously having cocaine or whatever he was doing naughty. So then he came out and he didn't want to do cocaine anymore, but he felt that he was really missing that ritual. So he somehow, and this, sorry.
So he was chasing the high. He was missing that high.
Yeah. But part of the high was
dopamine.
Chase Hughes talks about a lot of that. So again, don't quote me on these facts because I heard the story once and I'm, not good at repeating a story that I've heard once, clearly. It's quite apparent. But anyway, so the guy came up with getting these sniffing salts so that he could still take himself through this ritual and this process, because that was all part of the high.
Yeah, right.
And then sniff it, because it was still like that was encompassed the whole process rather than just the fact that the cocaine was going into his system. So part of that then, it's like reprogramming. NLP is about reprogramming and reframing things.
I see.
Like that guy had done. So if that's the thing, or the limiting beliefs, he's got processes around
so the ritual side of things and replacing that ritual.
And beliefs as opposed a limiting belief as opposed to a true belief. So we just covered a thing that was a limiting belief versus a true belief. So we did one side. This is just me watching the Zoom, and the other side of the page, for example, was is there a belief that I am a 7-year-old? And of course, no, I absolutely know that I'm not. I do not believe that I'm 7 years old. I know I was once, but is that my current belief? Absolutely not. So then you anchor in this whole how it feels to have a belief that is unshakable. It's a true belief. Bluetooth again. And then he goes through how you then sort of merge those so that your limiting belief, you're replacing, as I said, I've watched it once. I know the theory, but I'd have to really look at all the how you really do it.
That's so clever though. Like if you tell yourself, you then apply the example of being a 7-year-old to something that may or may not be true, depending on what you've convinced yourself of.
Yes, that's right, because that's what a true belief feels like. It's this color, it's that shape, it's there, it sits here, and he does this sort of tick list, and then wants to move across the limiting beliefs across into, making.
I can't lose weight. I can't quit smoking. I can't stop drinking or whatever
I can't make money. I can't this. So I know that's a very vague answer, but I think, everybody's done NLP, like, all of the people, and it's a big part of I think even what Chase Hughes talks about, all that stuff. So it's programming. It's actually just reprogramming, and everything.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. It's programming or brainwashing. It's and it comes back to what you're feeding. Like Chase Hughes talks about it, and a lot of others, about what you're actually feeding yourself and your brain. So it's why I don't watch the news and I don't watch a lot of negative things, because you're telling your brain on and on and on. This is what I want to watch. This is what I want to think about. So to reprogram yourself or self brainwash, even, it's like, I want to watch, Gary Vee. I want to watch Chase Hughes. I want to watch these things that are feeding my brain with stuff that's developing it into a positive and healthy mindset.
100%. It's like they say, what do they say? You are the people that you surround yourself with. It's something like you're the top 5 people that you associate with. You're mainly influenced by the 5 people you associate with. So I've quite often heard Gary Vee and numerous other people say a similar thing, that look at your circle, look at who you associate with and who the influence is. And if it's like someone that's naturally very negative and are always, you can't do that, don't try that, who do you think you are, why are you doing that? Limit it's not that you have to cut them out of your life altogether, but limit your association with them. But someone else that's like, that's great, look, I'm glad you've done that, give it a go and keep doing it. And someone that's got that more of a positive influence, try and associate with them more and surround yourself more with those sort of people. And again, it's a similar kind of thing. It's amazing how much overlap there is between different people in different fields that have that similar core thing.
No doubt about it. And I've really been doing self-development stuff for about 30 years, and more formally in the last 20 with my training and my study and my looking at things. And absolutely, there's a core. There's definitely some fantastic themes that run through the whole lot. That what you focus on, you get more of. What are you feeding your brain? And there's a brilliant thing. And again, I find it hard to explain, but there's a have you heard of the reticular activating system, RAS?
No.
It is so fantastic. And again, Chase Hughes talks about it, but I've heard it which is why I love all this stuff, because it all kind of goes, I reckon that too. And that's the stuff I've already learned, and I believe in that. And so happy to take on new beliefs. But it's also going, this is actually this is the good stuff. So, and I did an exercise with somebody recently, which is a bit of a standard exercise, but it's the whole what you focus on, you get more of. So it's apparently absolutely scientifically, neurologically proven. It's not woo-woo and, you just say that. And I give the example that I talked to John about it. And I'm saying it's the reticular activating system, RAS, and people can have a Google of this because it's pretty fantastic. And it's what you focus on, you get more of it. If you even have a little ponder about your thoughts in your life and you go, oh, that's a bit real. So I'm saying to John, it's like, because when we get in the car, this is another story. We get in the car, John, who's patient and calm and quiet and sweet. We get in the car. Oh, there's another stooger. Well, there's a stooger. Look at that guy up ahead. And I go, I don't care. Don't tell me about them anymore. And he goes, no, but he just pulled out in front of me. And I go, that's okay. I don't mind. Well, and he goes on and on about these stooges. And I go, as long as you keep looking for stooges, you're going to have stooges. It doesn't happen to me because I don't care. No, but that doesn't make sense. It can't, so we have this discussion. So I say to him that the idea is you get somebody to look around their room and say, just look around the room and just notice how many red things you see. Just count up like 1, 2, you might think of what they are or just a number. And then you say, how many? The guy, like, I saw 14 red things. You go, that's fantastic. How many blue things did you see? I go, oh, blue, you didn't ask me to look at blue. Oh, I was just looking for the red things. You go, well, how many blue? Well, I didn't see any. So you see what's happening there. You're only, if you're intending to. So I said, and of course they give the same example right across the board. You're going, I'm going to buy a yellow Holden. I love it. There's hardly any. I've never seen any. I'm going to be the only person who lives around here with a yellow Holden. And you go out on the road. Oh, there's one. Well, here's another one. And
it's so true.
Holden. It's so true. Because your brain says, oh, you're really interested in yellow Holdens. I can hear you really being interested. Or I know that you really want to, you're talking to, I don't know what your brain says. But, there's yellow Holdens. That's your focus. Here's a lot more. Here, look, here they are. But how many black Commodores or black Fords did you see? We didn't see any.
Didn't see any.
It's
None.
a brilliant thing. So
it's
the
so
RAS,
true.
You start playing with this and you'll just be blown away because you go, that is, oh my God. So, am I looking for cranky shopkeepers? Am I looking for pleasant people? Am I looking for, I don't know, but you start to play with this and you'll see that your brain is responding to what you're focused on. You really want, to see red things. Here, look at all these red things. So John has a discussion. Yeah, go.
No, I was just going to say, you could intentionally go out and look for people, say, that are really positive in a day. That's
exactly what you need to do. Exactly what you need to do. Because John was sort of going, oh, I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense. Are you saying that all of a sudden yellow Holdens are just dropping out of the sky and they're all on the road where they were before? So no, that's not exactly what I'm saying. It's not how it works. No. But your brain
I'm not manifesting more yellow Holdens on the road.
Magically. Here they are for John to see. So he goes, which is a fantastic conversation to have with someone because, and I say to him, you're looking for stooges. I don't have them because I'm not interested. I have something else because I'm interested. So it's fabulous. And it is actually proven that your brain's crazy. It's giving you what you're interested in. Oh, you're interested. I'll give you more of that.
What do they say? Where attention goes, energy flows.
Hang on. Yes, you've gone silent again.
Oh, let me know when I'm back.
Hang on.
We need some elevator music in the background.
I'm back.
And you're back. I was just saying, it's like that saying, where attention goes, energy flows. It's exactly that.
It's exactly the same as what you focus on, you get more. If you get more, what you focus on, where intention goes, energy flows. It is the same stuff. And
avoiding the stuff that you don't want your attention to go on. It's like they say, if you say to someone, don't hit that tree, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree, don't ride your bike, don't ride your bike into that tree. They go, oh, the tree. They focus on the tree, they hit the tree. It's exactly that same thing. It's, you don't put the thought into your head. It's intentionally focusing on some things and avoiding other things.
Yeah. So exactly like you said before, surround yourself by good people. Watch good things. Watch stuff that's informative. Sometimes I watch a daggy crazy movie, but you start watching some sad stuff, you're going to feel pretty miserable. There's a fantastic, this is actually really relevant. There's a fantastic process I learned it in art therapy, and it's called the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is in nearly every movie, and do you know about that? It's in all Disney
I was going
movies.
to say, I know that from a background in acting and storytelling.
Yeah. So it's you go along minding your own business in life, you have a crisis and you go down. And if you can see me, it's like a V, they play it out. So you go along, you have a crisis, you go down, and then there's a return or a rebirth, and then you come up. So it's a beautiful process to do with people, because when I do the process with them, what you start to do is you're finding and recognizing the things that actually take you down. So if you talk to someone who's just had a breakup with a relationship, they're like, oh, I'm listening to sad country and Western music. I'm not seeing my friends at the moment. No, I'm not doing this. Oh, I can't be bothered getting out. And they start to do all these things that are just taking them down.
Wow.
And then something happens, and they say it's usually external to the person. It's usually something happens to make that return, or the
or a behavior. Yeah.
Something happens. Somebody might come to you, or you might see something or watch something, or something happens, and you start to come out of that V. And then you start to go, well, having coffee with girlfriends really helps. I know going, to the gym makes me feel better.
I was going to say exercise. Yeah, that's a perfect example.
All of that.
People stop going to the gym or stop exercising.
Yeah.
They start to, their feelings or emotions or outlook changes.
Exactly. So then the return, and the idea is you will always have dips. It's life. But the idea is to catch yourself when you're going down and go, I actually know if I'm going to listen to really miserable, my wife done and left me with 12 kids, in an empty pantry, I'm going to go down, because that's what they call most country and Western songs, aren't they?
I was going to say, that's a great country and Western song. My wife left me with the 12 kids, there's something in the pantry.
And so you start to go down, and you go, you know what? I was going to put my record, John Denver on, who's, Sunshine on my shot, whatever. And you go, I know that stuff actually doesn't make me very happy. So I am going to catch myself. And I know that if I go to the gym, I'm going to feel better. If I watch a comedy, I'll feel better. And so the idea is you learn your own patterns, and you also honor those beautiful gems and those gifts that you have earned by coming up. And you go, I know these things make me better. I know this does. And I know. So the idea is to catch yourself instead of going right down. You start to catch yourself along the way.
That's so cool.
Come up. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and you can do it on a small scale. Like I notice when I'm watching some shows, I'm like, I'm feeling really angry, or I'm feeling cranky at people, or miserable, especially if there's a real underdog and people it's a lot of non-justice. And I'm like, oh, I'm really annoyed about this. So you feel it.
Yeah.
And you kind of,
but like you said, that is part of life. So it is still important to acknowledge that there is shit that goes on that's fucked. There is stuff in the world that is just not right. But it's to not focus on that, and to not live in that, and to acknowledge that, and then redirect or to yourself.
That's right, because people are their own worst enemies. They just make it unbeknownst to them, of course. They're like, they then, have a little drink at night, and then they have they play the miserable records. Not that anybody plays records anymore. They start to do these things, and they're just taking them further down. So
and the next step to that as well, sorry to cut you off, but I was going to say the next step to that, I was only reading recently about resilience, and how resilience is the ability to not only do that, but to be able to bounce back or redirect yourself faster and faster and faster. So, for example, that's right. So rather than it taking 3 days for you to direct your attention and to come back to something more positive, now it takes you 2 days, and then it takes you 1 day, and then you get to the stage where like you can actually change, perception's reality. You can change your whole outlook just by changing your perception of something, and to do it fast.
And catching yourself and knowing your habits and saying, I know that's going to make me feel worse. I know if I watch a rom-com while I've just broken up with someone and listen to miserable records, and it's how, you talk about the heavy metal and it makes the kids, because they're hearing it. It's like, injustice in the world, that mob mentality, that collective unconscious, all of a sudden everybody's like, we're the victim, and it starts to play out. You've got to,
misery loves company. If you focus on that and other people are doing the same thing, if you say to someone, that's fucked when this happens and that happens, and they go, that's right, I hate it when that happens, and then you both sort of talk yourselves down the rabbit hole, and that's, it's like next thing, everything's bad, everything's negative.
Exactly. There's a fantastic thing, and I always liken it back to the Richest Man in Babylon book, which I think that's where it is, because I always say it is. So if anybody's listening, I'm wrong, I apologize. But the richest man in Babylon, that is exactly what you're saying. There's a farmer, and the neighbor comes over and says, oh, I hear your son is off to war, and he says, oh, well, and he says, oh, that's so bad. And he said, well, is it good or is it bad? And then he comes back and he said, oh, the neighbor says your son is home from war. That is so good. And he says, well, is it good or is it bad? The father keeps saying. And then, he comes back and he says, oh, I see your son has broken his leg. Oh, that's so bad. Farmer goes, well, is it good or is it bad? And then, the farmer comes back. I see your son's leg's broken, so he doesn't have to go back to war. That's good. And he's like, is it good or is it bad? So we tend to absolutely, 2 stories I've got. That's one.
I've heard that one before, actually. I've heard someone, there's like a longer version of that. And then, because the son broke his leg, he didn't have to go off to war. So that was good. But,
what's happened, we always
so
jump to the worst case, but it could be a great case. And the other one is the lady who's got the baby in the pram, and her friend sees her up the street and says, oh, your baby's so gorgeous. She's just lovely. And the woman goes, I know, she's so gorgeous. And she looks like she's got a runny nose, though. Is she not well? And the woman's energy drops and goes, oh, no, she's probably getting a cold. My sister's been sick, and she starts to go down. And goes, oh, but I bet she gets well better, if you just did it. And she's, the woman. So this woman's effectively exactly what you're saying, manipulating the energy, because she's buying into this energy of, oh, no, she's not well. Whereas that farmer didn't. But this scenario is the opposite. He's like, oh, they get sick, they get sick, but and it's the woman's taking this sort of going down, and she's, but I bet she'll bounce back. And so, the woman's up again.
And then, she does. She always bounces back really quickly. Yeah. It's funny, again, back to Gary Vee. I've heard him talk about that exact thing, about how vulnerable people can be to both praise and criticism. And it's like, you can't just focus on one or the other. For example, he talks about how people are, like, especially online, or if you're in the public eye, people won't, Gary Vee says, for example, people won't post or are scared to post or put content out because of the criticism. Everyone jumps on, oh, who do you think you are? Oh, that's shit, you're this, you're that, And so they let the criticism bring them down. But when it comes to praise, oh, you're so good, you're the best at that, I love the way you do this, you're number one, they pump themselves up. But they're making themselves vulnerable because they're relying on the praise. They're affected by the praise, same with the criticism. So, he'll say, oh, look, people all the time, oh, Gary Vee, you're the best, you're the GOAT, you're the greatest of all time, you're this, you're that. And he's like, look, that's cool. He thinks to himself, that's cool, that's great that you say that. But he thinks to himself, I'm not going to pump myself up because of that, just the same as if you say, oh, Gary Vee, you shit, you're full of yourself, you think you know it all, you're this, you're that, you're whatever. He won't let that affect him either. And so you have to be not impervious, but you have to kind of limit your response to good or the negative. And it's funny, I only heard someone, a voice actress, that I was reading some of her stuff on LinkedIn, and she was saying the same thing, that, you know, someone was very vulnerable to both the you know, comparing the praise and the criticism. And they're like, oh, if someone says something negative, they're like, oh, you know, I just ignore that. But they were still listening to the positive. And it's interesting, that whole thing of like, if you limit your response to both, you're kind of relying on what you think and what you feel, coming back to what you were saying about then you're responsible for where you're directing your attention. People's.
Yeah.
You know, you're the one that goes, well, that's great that somebody said I'm the greatest at this or I suck at that. It's like, well, if I ignore both of that, and again, look, if it's someone that, coming back to intention, if it's someone that cares about you and has really good intentions and goes, hey, look, you know, that thing you do, it doesn't do you any favors, you know, maybe just have a look at that. Then sure, you go, hey, look, this person's really close to me. I know that if you know, my husband or wife or best friend says this, they're coming from a good place, so I will take it into consideration. But you know, for 99% of the other people that are, whether they're saying something good or something bad, it's like, I'm going to rely on what I think or what I feel rather than, you know, their perspective.
No, it's so true. It's finding your own center and your own truth within it. Being open to, let me just think if that is actually, I think I'm off again. Finding your truth. Can you hear me still?
Yep, no worries.
Going, exactly. And we're so focused on the negative. The criticism will outweigh the positive stuff every time. We'll go, oh, that one person out of 20 said something. I really want to focus on that, maybe on this. So and exactly what you're saying, if it's somebody coming with integrity and compassion saying, you know, Craig, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to have a little think about that. Might not still fit with you properly, but let me have a little think about what that means for me, and do I need to have a look at my behavior?
Yeah. And then you take it away and go, maybe, that is something that I'll look at. You know, you have a think about it and see how it sits, and it's something that you can just be aware of. And then you can react or act accordingly, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think the person, you can't take everything on board that people say, but I think you have to have that lovely balance of, that was interesting that they said that. Do I need to look at that? That's just growth. And there's a fantastic one of those gold nuggets I was talking about earlier, those beautiful blueprints, is that your external world is a mirror of your internal world. And that is magnificent when you learn to understand it and work with that in your own life. That's, a great tool, a fabulous tool.
100%.
Have you?
Yeah, definitely.
Because
it really is.
Yeah, because if it's happening outside of you, it has to start from inside you first. And people get really annoyed about that. They get really defensive, like, what? Why would I create that? No, I'm not doing, blah, 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 blah. No, Sir Bob, no, what are you saying? And you go, well, if you think about it, and work with it, and you do your work internally and you make some shifts, that will change.
Which again just comes back to that being open and being willing to, you don't have to commit, but just it's saying to yourself, I'm just going to take
a look at it. Have a little look.
Yeah. And
again, have a little look.
If it does sit right with you, you go, cool. That is something I'll look at. And if not, then I guess it's about being honest with yourself and just going, that is something I probably do need to be aware of or to look at, or going, no, you know what? As much as that person loves me, I don't think they've quite got that one particular thing right, because their perspectives are biased
that's right,
on their own beliefs and experiences and that kind of thing too.
I think when it comes to this, I like to say, if it's happening 2 or 3 times, if it's a one-off and someone says, hey, they're really angry at you because they don't like what you do. And you go, you got to really. But if it's 2 or 3, if there's conflict around you, and there's 2 or 3, you've had 2 or 3 conflicts in the last week, and you say, if you were to say to me, oh, I've got a lot of conflict in my life right now, then, you know, I've got a stupid cat here, sorry. You know, I've got a lot of conflict. And I go, well, it's really unusual, but this, and you bring it back to, so if it's outside, it's happening in here first. Do you have some conflict internally?
Yeah.
And, you know, they might sort of, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? You go, are you conflicted internally? Is that, and if they ponder it, they'll go, oh my goodness, you know, I absolutely am. I'm really conflicted and I'm absolutely grumpy at myself. I'm going, you should do no, why do you do that? You don't need to do it. But I really, and they're having this internal conflict.
Yeah.
What a gift to just know, okay, that's mine.
Yeah.
What can I, so how about I don't have an internal, how about I just, and people go, what's the opposite of that? And you go, well, how about you just honor, I'm doing my best. I'm trying, to yourself internally, I'm trying, I'm going to work on that. How about I don't beat myself up about it and I don't have such conflict, but I try to go, well, let me work through this. And the conflict externally goes away. So, you know, I'm not saying everything in your whole world, it's not magic, but geez, it changes because it's not needing to be manifested because it's wanting you to look at internally.
I've heard, I'm pretty sure it may or may not have been, but I'm pretty sure it was Jordan Peterson talk about this. I'm sure it was him. And he was talking about this concept of being your own best friend. So someone comes to you and go, oh, Sharron, look, this happened and that happened. And, you know, this was really fucked up. And what do I do? As a best friend, you go, hey, look, you know, you might need to do this. You might need to do that. Look at this, look at that, you know, whatever they suggest. But if you were giving yourself that advice, you're not as kind to yourself. You go, oh, no, I just got that wrong. I shouldn't have, you know, and you beat yourself up. Whereas what you kind of need to do is go, if I was not me, if I was talking to someone else who was my best friend, how would I treat myself as my own best friend?
Absolutely.
And then it's saying to yourself, hey, Craig, look, you know, you did your best. This didn't work out. Maybe you just try this or that. And separating yourself, but treating yourself as your own best friend rather than beating yourself up. It's such a good mind shift.
It's a fantastic mind shift. And I do that. I've done that with lots of groups and lots of different people. Exactly what you're saying. Be your own friend. And if you're not, it'll play out. And I just reckon these are like being handed a lottery ticket going, do you know that's because of that? And you go, oh my God, I can do something about that. Instead of walking through life going, well, I'm a victim. People are mean to me. I'm having a lot of conflict or I'm getting bullied. That's awful. And you've got this wonderful, let's have a look at, if that's happening outside of me, then it's happening inside of me. And don't start beating yourself up about it. Just go, okay, that's not great. I don't like it. So exactly what we're saying, be your own best friend and go, that's not okay. How about I don't do that? How about I try not to do that to myself?
Yeah, that's right. Unless you're the extreme other end of that scale where these chronic narcissists can have a run-in with 99 different people and go, it's not me though. It's those other 99 people. It's not me. Yeah, sure. I've had a run-in with 99 different people this week, but it's still not me. It's all them.
It's all them. Because I will often reflect and I go, okay, that's happened twice, that's really, what's going on for that? Do I have to look at that? And you might go, oh, why is everything got to be my fault? But you go, no, let me look at it. Let me just look at it. Let me just ponder it. Again, just reflect to go, well, is what happened then? Because that's not just an isolated incident. That's not normally like that, but it is at the moment. So I think they're brilliant because I think they're a tool that you can then go, okay, that's fantastic. That lady said, if it's happening out here. So it's not about blame. I'm doing it. It's my fault. It's like, it's out here. It started internally. It's going on internally. What's happening? Am I doing that? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
How about if I'm kinder to myself? How about if I'm not, or wouldn't be doing that to my best friend? Exactly what you're saying. So how about I work with that, and then that will change what's going on outside of you.
And like you say, they're blueprints to live by, but they are also absolute nuggets.
They're brilliant nuggets. I love learning this stuff.
Rewards of just implementing them it's like everything, the simplest things in life are often the best. It can be just a really simple, slight mindset change, just a slight mind shift, but can have a massive impact on the way you treat yourself and view yourself, and the way your life actually plays out.
Absolutely. Results are different. So, it doesn't always have to be that deep, hard slog. You can make changes just by reflecting and by knowing these few little things, and Google stuff. And there's some incredible well-being stuff for free online. And it's if it resonates, if it doesn't, put it aside if it resonates. But if you want to feel better, start to look at those things. And that's a lot of the stuff they talk about with depression. People, and Jordan Peterson talks about this also, which I love him. I think he's fantastic.
He's brilliant.
And he talks about it's the opposite of what we're saying, but the people who are very, very, very depressed are so totally self-focused and in a world of misery. But if they can help somebody, I said cat, if they can help somebody, puss, do something kind for somebody else. That is such a beautiful feeling. And if they could just maybe do a little bit of, I know they feel terrible, but they're going to feel terrible regardless. And if they don't want to stay feeling awful and depressed, just shift that a little bit by, how about I do this today? How about I do something nice for someone? How about try it?
Yeah. I forget what there's a saying, but it's something about service, something about a life of service. Yeah.
It's all about being a life of service. And that doesn't mean you have to work at the local church and cook meals, or soup kitchens, twice a week. Life of service, I think it's a bit of a bum rap because people say, oh, I need the money, which of course they probably do. I can't just be a volunteer. But you can do a little something here and there. You can just do a little something that is being kind to somebody else and making their life a bit easier, and doing a little. Take the focus.
It can be as simple as a smile, as a compliment, as saying something nice to someone, or something positive, or doing something without expectation of them giving you something back. It can just be just calling a friend, and just saying, hey, how's things? How's it all going? No, not after anything, not wanting anything. It's just,
And sometimes it's putting your own needs aside. It's, you might have a friend that's going through a bad time, and you've kind of heard the story 50 times and it's a bit wearing. But you go, well, how about I just put me aside for a bit? They need to talk. So you do ring them up, as you say, and you go, oh, what's happening? And they're going to, but just for now, let them just do that.
Yeah,
it's just that, I don't know, it's those little things. But if people who are severely depressed and all that, please don't think I think it's just a quick fix, but by stepping outside of themselves and doing a little something here and there would do them the world of good. Because two of the things that I have read many years ago and I believe are absolutely imperative is everybody needs a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
If you take those away from people, so people say who maybe are depressed, they stay home, they're unable to work because they're in such a bad place. So they have no sense of belonging and no sense of purpose. And they don't get better, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I often think we could do people a service by bringing them into giving them something to do. As much as they don't want to do it and they're not really up to it, it would actually, counteract how bad they're feeling. It would be better for them.
Yeah. And they're both so related, those things, feeling like they're part of something, and then also having a sense of purpose within that tribal group or whatever,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
Very cool. But it's amazing how interrelated they all are. And coming back to what you're saying, it's a matter of finding the person that you relate to the most that's pretty much saying a very similar message. It's just a matter of finding that particular person or that particular thing that resonates with you the most,
Yeah.
You know, whether it's Jordan Peterson or Gary Vee or whoever else that you could
and
be.
Just bring you more into your psyche, into your brain, telling your brain, I like this because it's positive. I like this because it's helpful. I like this because it's beneficial in my life.
Yeah.
You know, there's a brilliant series on YouTube, which is Carl Jung, Academy of Ideas. And they're all about maybe 15 or 20 minutes long. And it's all the Jungian stuff, because it's hard to read a whole book on that, and it's pretty deep and meaningful. But he was brilliant. And so these Academy of Ideas, it might be about the external world, a mirror or reflection of your internal world. We might be talking about it's not what happens to you in life, but it's how you behave with what happens. So he's got all these fantastic things. So watch them, and I don't care if I watch them over and over, but for people who want to sort of start feeling and thinking more positive and bringing some knowledge about how to do that into their life, these are fantastic. They're free, they're on YouTube, and it's bringing that in.
Yeah.
Going, well, let me watch some of that stuff. Don't watch the news. Don't sit there and watch, you know, politicians fighting one another. Watch the stuff that is feeding your psyche some good stuff.
Yeah. The nurturing stuff, the good stuff.
Yeah, because the other stuff just, can take you. It's that V again, that hero's journey just takes you down.
Yeah.
There's some great stuff and it's setting the intention. I want to feel better. I don't feel like watching stupid Carl Jung. I don't want to hear about all these good things. It's all right for them. They're in a good place. Just watch it. You know, just go, oh, you know what can I get worse? Why don't I just watch it?
Yeah. And even if it's one thing that you take on for that week, you know, it can be just one thing of going, well, okay, I'm just going to look at that one thing. Even if you watch one a week and you just incorporate that into your life for that week, you know.
I'm just connecting you again.
You're just connecting me, or you're disconnecting?
Hang on a minute, you're not back yet, Craig. Hold on. It's going to annoy people like crazy. Hang on, Craig. A lesson in patience.
It's good because everyone knows that we're all impacted by technology.
Right, I'm back.
We're back. I was just saying it's good because everyone can relate. Everyone's impacted by technology.
You know, roll with those punches.
It's a godsend when it works, and it's the opposite when it's not.
The AI getting ready to destroy us, but that's another story.
I was going to say, that's a whole nother episode.
That's a whole other podcast. If we live long enough to, if humanity's still around. But look, honestly, what is it? It's not like, oh, it's all right for everybody else. If you just want to make changes and you do want to feel a bit better and you do want to make some changes, just do a little bit here. Just think about something we've talked about today. Just know that it's real and that it works, and that you don't have to do years of hard slog or therapy you can, but just take some stuff on board and just say, I'm a bit sick of how I'm feeling. Or why don't I take on board some of those things? Why don't I explore some of that on the internet or on YouTube and watch some good stuff that makes me feel better. Yeah, there's some fantastic people doing wonderful things. Just
100%. Yeah. And you're a great example. What is, speaking of you and your stuff, I'll drop your website in the comments, but what's your website? Where can people go to find out more about you and what you're doing? Oh,
okay. So it's YouGain Train, as in YouGainTrain.com.au. So that's the company, YouGain Training. That's the corporate training where I take all this stuff and push it into delivering it in a workplace.
Yeah.
The Soul Purpose Studio is more just the counselling. That's a Facebook. But I'm just in the process of making sure I put that also on the website to say that it's the same stuff. It's just because I just thought this is all so important. If I can go to a workplace and, give people these tools, because they're all people and they're all interacting and they all are on their own individual journey. So that was the idea behind all of that. So thank you for that.
And I think that's been one of the big shifts, I guess, in the corporate world is there's been that movement away from going, oh, that's all just the stuff you look at on your own in your own time. You know, I think organizations have started to realize the advantages of this stuff and going, hey, this is something that, you know, it's not just happy, clappy, feel good. This is going to affect my people, my staff, my productivity, my business in a big
exactly
way,
what it does.
You know?
Yeah, that's exactly. They're all people. They want to, look after your people, and they'll look after you. And you're so exactly what you said is just so right. It used to be, you know, go off to therapy, but you see it play out. I've seen it over many, many years. People in the workplace, and you know, leaders who are pushed into leadership roles, and they don't know how to deal with people, and because they don't know. But exactly what you said. They're all people. They're all people working for you, and they've got their own things going on, their own beliefs, their own culture. What is the work culture like? What is your company culture?
Yeah.
And you'll soon see what company culture plays out like. And if the company culture is not healthy, how does that going to play out? I think we all know it's going to play out well.
Yeah. And rightly or wrongly, it all generally starts at the top, you know, and then flows down.
What's at the top, it filters all the way down. I have worked, obviously I'm not in my early years. I've worked for many places over many years, and that's exactly right. What's the top will filter down. Always. Good, bad, or otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
again, coming back to what we said earlier, it's not about working for, you know, the guy or girl in the suit and with the Rolex and the one that looks like they've got their shit together.
Yeah.
It's the one that goes, oh, look, you know what? I really don't know the answer either, but I tell you what, let's find out together. Like, let's jump in together. I don't know the answer myself, or, you know, I've struggled with that sort of thing as well. But you know what? Let's jump in together and see what we can come up with. That's the person that you're going to jump behind, not the person that's like, I've got the 3-piece suit, I've got my shit together. It's the real person that goes, yeah, look, I'm not sure. I suffer with a lot of that sort of stuff myself, but hey, let's jump in together and have a go and see what we can come up with. Have I disappeared again?
Yeah, you're back now.
I'm back.
I'm going to have to watch the replay to catch that last.
I was just saying about, you know, the person you're going to, that's real and that's not pretending like they've got all their shit together. The one that, you know, is real and goes, hey, look, you know, I struggle with that sort of thing just the same, but let's jump in together and see what we can come up with. You know, that's and
if you want a healthy workplace, have healthy people. You know, I've done talks on, you know, strategic or adaptable communication. Don't walk past someone in the kitchen and go, oh, by the way, can you do overtime next week? You know, be strategic. Again, what do you want? What are you looking for? What's your intention? What's the outcome? Don't berate somebody in front of other people. I worked for a place once. Oh, appalling. He berated his right-hand guy in front of absolutely everybody. I was so annoyed. I just thought that is just appalling leadership. He was the owner of the company, but that's just disgusting. And so, don't, if you're going to communicate, or if you want to be more strategic, send someone an email and say, look, I need to talk to you about these things. Bang, 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 bang. They get the email, you know, can we make a time for today? Maybe 4 o'clock. So you're sending it at 11 in the morning. They've got it. They're thinking about it. They've looked at it. They've worked out if 4 o'clock's good. They know what you're coming in to talk about. So when you come in, you don't walk in the door and go, oi, by the way, this. They go, whoa. Wasn't ready for any of that. They're like, okay, I've looked at your email. I've had time to think about what you want to discuss. It's just a whole different outcome, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And you're working on the solution together rather than the adversarial kind of approach.
Yeah,
it's like,
so true.
You know, help me, help you kind of thing. It's like, let's together between us see what we can come up with. Because, you know, maybe you've done that, but maybe I've done this as well. And between us, we both haven't had, you know, ideal behaviors. Maybe we'll try this and that. And
And it's responding rather than reacting that we talked about very early on. It's that time to, And another thing is, people think conflict is so negative and so bad and they avoid it at all costs. But there's a thing called positive conflict, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
That helps you grow. Positive conflict.
Yeah.
Maybe I am stuck in a rut. Maybe this conflict is stretching my thoughts. Maybe it's about looking at things differently. I don't mean disrespectful and aggressive.
No.
But there can be positive conflict. No, I don't think we should
100%.
do it like that anymore. Okay, let's think about that. Are you just being an awful person who's sick of doing things, or do you actually have some really good points?
Yeah.
People avoid conflict, but sometimes
Quite often that's where the growth is 100% is from that
Mm.
conflict. Again, as long as it's positive and reasonable and constructive.
Yeah, exactly. Respectful and do unto others. Yeah.
Which again comes back to those really simple, basic kind of ideals. It's people are people, and if that's how you treat people, with respect and dignity and those kind of really basic things, it's not like a lot of things, it's not rocket science, it's not magic.
No, it's not. And sometimes you'll see somebody and they're really awful, they're just horrible, and somebody will go, this person did this, and you go, yep, that's what they do, that's that person, and it's horrible. And I often just say, I'm just so glad I'm not that person. I would not like to be living like that person is. They must have had a lot of stuff going on, and it would not be very nice being them. Not getting them off the hook, but I'm so glad I'm not them.
Yeah,
that'd be horrible. To be so mean to people on purpose all the time, you're not in a good place.
No, 100%. And I've heard exactly that in reference to people that are trolling other people online. It's like, imagine you've actually gone out of your way to go to someone and shit on them, and to actually take time, precious time,
take the time out of your day,
and to actually type
to
out
be mean,
to shit onto someone. It's like, wow. And again, it's like they're the people that you look at and go, so glad I'm not you.
So glad that's not how I spend my day. That's not my feelings. That I'm not living in this horrible sort of place mentally. I'm just going to be nasty to as many people as I can. And they talk about social media and the pros and cons. And of course, there is a lot of, it's just feeding us. It's fear mongering. It's propaganda. We believe what we read. We talk about propaganda until it was pointed out to me. I just assumed what I was hearing and reading was honest and real, the truth, until somebody says, no, they're feeding us what they want us. And you just go, I'm not being a conspiracy theorist, but when you hear about propaganda, you watch two different television stations. People watch this and they go, no, and then you watch over here and you go, oh my goodness, that's the absolute opposite.
Yeah.
Wow.
Totally.
Did not know there was another side to this story.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because we just sort of sit back and go, oh, it's just what I know. It's again, your beliefs. What do you hear? What do you know? Can you change those? Can you take that on board, some change?
Not to mention, I've heard that anything from 50 to kind of 80% of those in the online example on social media, 50 to 80% of those comments are all bots anyway. People are having these online arguments with bots whose intention is nothing other than to keep generating your response and to keep you interacting with that site to raise them up in the algorithm. People are having
awful business.
Online trolling sessions with bots.
Yeah. It is extraordinary. We live in really strange times. I don't know.
Yeah.
And when you hear that stuff, you go, what?
Yeah.
What do they say?
Just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean they're not actually out to get me.
It is. It's like, oh, who would have thought? Quite often I'm going, you hear something, you go, well, who would have thought? Or they tell you something on, that's actually come out and you go, well, that's new.
Yeah,
boy. But Yeah, taking on the worries of the world will not do anybody any good. It does not do your well-being any good. It's got to keep it as tidy as you can for your own well-being.
Yeah. And look, I hope that even if only one person today watches this and takes one thing away from it that's positive, whether it's just about like changing their outlook, changing their perspective on things, focusing more on the positive, looking at where their attention is, then, like winning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And I just pray they forgive me for all my cutting in and out with my audio, but we got there.
Yeah, that's half the fun of
Patience.
it.
It's a lesson in patience, tell them.
Well, and again, we leave all that in. We keep it real,
Sorry, guys. And
what you see here is what actually happens. So, cats and coffees and everything.
Yeah, I'll go have some lunch or whatever it is. But Craig, thanks for having me on. It's been fabulous. I love it. It's great. Always love talking to you anyway.
Oh, same. It's been absolutely brilliant. And look,
you're gone again.
So,
there you're back.
Now, I was going to say your audio is cutting in and out as well, talking about technology. So, look, it's been. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day just to chat. I really hope somebody. Well, I know they will, but I just hope even one person gets
their benefit.
What we've spoken.
Just take some. Just ponder it. Think about it. Just go. Maybe that's something going. Just think about it at the very least, and at the very most, take it on. Go. I'm going to work with that stuff that they talked about today. This might be 100%. Really helpful.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm super grateful. I can't thank you enough. I really, really appreciate it. And we'll have to do it again if you come back. I'd love to have you back, and we'll continue this conversation.
Thank you, Craig, and thank you to everyone. Will I just push leave studio?
You just leave studio.
Bye, Craig. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, heaps. Bye-bye.